or the handbrake half up in the critical moments, in the biggest moments for England in these big games. And so with that comes kind of apprehension and a bit of anxiousness when you're watching those games, right? And Benty, you've been in them England squads, yeah? Mm. A lot of the guys in them teams and as a unit, as a team, as well as individuals, we were scared to lose games. And this...
Sport.
With the headlines at 1 minute past 1, I'm Tom Clayton. Good afternoon. talkSPORT's been told the world has underestimated Cape Verde as they've made it 2 draws from 2. That 2-2 draw with Uruguay means a win against Saudi Arabia guarantees them at least second in Group H. Superfan Gilson Nunes reckons it's proof that FIFA were right to expand the tournament.
Having more teams, they thought it will be like games, will be like, it's not a good game, but FIFA proved it wrong. Good game. It's been a lot of excitement.
There's been a smaller trend of, there's been a trend of smaller teams really having a go at the bigger teams. Cape Verde are just one of those who've had positive results. Alan Pardew thinks that's down to the chance of going through in third.
I thought a lot of the games would be stayed boring draws, but it's been quite the opposite, and that might be the factor. What's been great about this World Cup so far is we've had some names that we don't normally recognise with grabbing the headlines of World Cups.
Elsewhere, Neymar is expected to return for Brazil's final group game with Scotland, live on talkSPORT on Wednesday. Ahead of that, talkSPORT's very own Alan Brazil joined us to say Steve Clarke's facing a selection dilemma. Should he play Shankland or Adams up top? Brazil says ultimately that's not what's crucial.
I think John McGinn's the one who's got to try and spark off him when the ball goes forward. We've got to retain some sort of possession, and we're going to be under so much pressure.
And it's been revealed Iran's players left a handwritten note calling for peace in the changing rooms in Los Angeles last night. They thanked those who cheered them on in their goalless draw with Belgium, with part of the note reading, "May peace, respect and friendship prevail among all nations." Get more at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Sir Keir Starmer has announced he's resigning, and Andy Burnham's confirmed he will already run for Prime Minister, while the ex-Health Secretary's given him his backing. All of this after the PM's emotional statement in Downing Street. For full analysis, head to Times Radio.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Heat wave outside, oven inside. Stay cool this summer with a free aircon check. Book online or visit your local QuickFit today.
Increasingly hot and humid in the southeast, where the best of the sunshine is. Elsewhere, cloudy with a few areas of showery rain, particularly in the north and in Scotland.
Good afternoon, UK, and good morning from us here in New York. You're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan. Alongside us, Troy Deeney, and we are live on talkSPORT. So, the feast of World Cup action continues, but when it comes to player sacrifice, should it always be football before family or family before football? Meanwhile, Newcastle turned down £75 million from Tottenham for Tonali. Is Newcastle to Spurs a step up? Also today, Itoma versus Hrgovic is announced. Both fighters will be joining us live. Gary O'Neill to Ipswich. Does it enhance their survival credentials? Red cards for covering the mouth. A necessary evil. Plus, are Scotland simply not brave enough come major tournaments like this one? It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, Troy Deeney, and we are live on talkSPORT. Good morning from New York. Good afternoon to you all back in the UK. Bit of rain here later on. We're not used to that, but we're certainly getting used to this wonderful city. Simon alongside me. How was your weekend? How was Rhode Island?
Very nice, very warm, yes. Bumped into, tragically for me, a legion of Scottish fans.
What, on the train?
No, in Rhode Island, in a very small little village, a little town called Bristol, which has a population of 23,000 people. There was a bunch of your lot there.
OK, how were they?
They were very pleased to see me.
Well, I mean...
I learned another version of my full name.
Troy, he doesn't actually realise this, but you do know you're very popular with them. Because whenever, I'm serious, whenever we've come across Scots here in New York, hi Jim, where's Simon? Where's Simon?
Yeah.
Where's Simon?
Okay.
Honestly, Troy.
I think everyone loves him, but a bit like us, they love to hate him. So
Yeah.
you're a lovely
Very
guy.
good. Yes,
You are a nice guy.
Thank you, Troy. Just tell Michelle that once, would you?
Michelle, if you're listening, love this man, please. Here's the thing, Troy, what happened at the weekend? And I'm talking specifically about your lovely daughter.
Yeah, little visit to urgent care. So she was 12 on Friday, decided to play a game of football for NYCFC. Gets pushed in the back, broken arm. So Father's Day was spent, Father's Day was spent in urgent care. And then all the treats that we were going to have all out the window, sitting down watching Minions last night. So, all good, but she's on the mend.
Oh, no.
1 week left of school, 5 weeks in a cast. What more does she want?
In a cast. We call it in Scotland a stookie. But there we are. Is she up and about this morning?
She go, yeah, well, she better go to school if you're watching, so off to school.
All right. Isla, we send you our best. Everybody here at talkSPORT sends you their very best, Isla. I hope you're on the mend very soon. Here's the thing, Simon. Back home, another sacking, not in football. Keir Starmer has resigned as Prime Minister earlier today. That's the news that came through to us here in this side of the pond, announcing a new leader would be in place by September after a leadership contest. How do you view this, Simon? Does he go down as one of the most unpopular Prime Ministers ever?
Yes, I think it's almost impossible to govern in this day and age because you have so many different peculiarities and nuances. Whilst I'm not a fan of him, I don't think I think it's very interesting when you take over something, if you haven't got a plan, it's very easy to be in opposition. It's very easy to be a football manager without actually having the responsibility of it. And there's an irony about my position on this set of circumstances. In football world, we would fire a manager. If you're going to fail fast and get rid of them quick and move on, right?
Yeah.
In this instance, I'm actually for the policy of fixed-term governments because you can't keep on changing prime ministers. You can't. If this Andy Burnham character comes in, who, by the way, just look at his record in government, it's not exactly exciting, despite the fact he's been decent in Manchester, which is an easy job to do when all you're doing is pleasing the local people with the things that they want. You know, you now got the situation where he's going to be elected as a Labour leader, potentially with no mandate. No doubt about it, he'll probably want to raise taxes. So they'll probably have a general election and we'll have some ridiculous situation where the lunatic Green Party will do a deal with the Labour Party and we'll have absolute chaos in our country. So not good. Not good.
I mean, that's your opinion. I knew you'd be strong on it. I know it's only 8 minutes past 8 in the morning here in New York. I haven't lost my mind. Could you do the job? I mean it. Look, you and I are always out, back in London, even over here. Jordan for PM.
But politics is about compromise now, isn't it? And in life, I don't believe in compromises. I think you get compromise outcomes. And it's much more nuanced, much more caveated. Better people. Better people. I just think that Piers, I've talked bloody Piers Morgan talking to him this morning. I just think that Keir Starmer didn't have a plan, and it's and the people that he employed around him, you're as good as the people that you employed, and if you look at the people that he's got around him, they're not of the greatest standard. So I think it's a tragedy, not because we're losing a prime minister that people don't like, but because this constant upheaval and lack of continuity and changing, whatever you may think of it over here. Trump's in power for 4 years, you elected him, you know what you got, you get with it, you remove him in 4 years' time. We keep on changing.
Fixed term, as you say.
Yeah. Which is the polar opposite of football, because ultimately you get a manager and you put him on a fixed-term contract, but you fire him.
Yeah.
Keir Starmer fired himself,
Yeah. Which is a harder job, PM or England manager?
Prime Minister.
PM.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah. Pardew said, Alan Pardew apparently said, England manager on talkSPORT, it's a tougher job. It's a tougher job.
What do you want me to do? Take what Alan Pardew says with a great deal of credibility.
But you're right, Simon. You're only as good as the people around you. Simon, look at these people. They're wonderful, and that's why this show is flying. We're all doomed, Captain Mannering. No, we're not. A lot to get through this morning.
Don't give me your name, Pike.
Incidentally, for reaction and in-depth analysis of the news coming out of Downing Street today, listen to Times Radio. If you want to have your say, then tune in to Talk. You can listen to both on the talkSPORT app. All you have to do is to download it is swipe between all the stations, not the nations, all the stations on our network. A lot to get through this morning, and we'll start now. Troy, a feast of football over the weekend. The USA made it 2 wins from 2, dispatching Australia, who were pretty terrible, it's fair to say. The US fans around us, and we were in a big sort of brassy bar place, Buddy's Sports Bar, something else, that place. And the Americans were loving it. The Americans were loving it. Are they right to believe at this stage?
Yeah, at this moment in time, of course they are. They're top of the group. Obviously, Turkey have been terrible as well. No one would have ever said that, because they would have really been going into this game expected, OK, can this get us through? And they've handled the occasion fantastically well. They've been very bright, very quick and athletic, which I enjoy. But when they beat Australia, they were 2-0 up, and they got into this really weird space of, do we sit back, do we go? Do we sit back, do we go? And you know Pochettino loves everyone on the front foot, and I just thought they didn't manage the game great. But all in all, bigger picture, top of the group, they're through. They can rest some people who are on yellow cards, because obviously that would carry over. Pulisic gets an extra week to rest up. It's been great for the US, but Turkey have been terrible, so have Paraguay. So it's been a nicer group than first off would have imagined.
Well, I was with a lot of Americans and a lot of my friends there in Rhode Island, and their kids are big football fans. So the level of excitement for the US to be playing at a certain level of standard. It was interesting to watch, because Tony Popovich, who used to play for me as the Australian manager, and watching Tony trying to make sense of what his team were doing. They'll probably qualify Australia, and so everyone will have done their jobs. And there was some confected rivalry between the two teams because of various observations that commentators have made about this as being a layup of a game. But the Americans, you would expect Pochettino to have an impact and to create a better outcome. With due respect to Greg Berhalter, he set a platform, and the American team was getting better and better and better. This is probably the best version of the American team we've seen, since American football became prevalent, or our version of it in terms of football, not rather than soccer. They are going to get dealt with when they come up against the major opposition.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But I do think it's good for the tournament. I think a home nation, with the scale of this country and the interest of this country, having a team that participates and performs in it to a reasonably high level, I think is a good thing.
I'll tell you what, Simon, the Americans around us, and I know it's easy to say it, they were getting swept away watching that game against Australia and watching the win. But they think they can go seriously deep in it. We had one coming up to us, Troy, and saying, this is our time. We can win this thing. I mean, they can't, can they?
No, they're a bit like you after Scotland won. They got a little bit too high, and then they need people like us just to bring them down a level or two, just to get to where it's at. But there is a way in which...
Yellow card.
There's a way in which I think they can play England in the quarterfinals. Now, that would be amazing, not only for US football fans to realise where they're at when we slap them all over the place. But the second part to that is, from the intrigue, the media, it'd be a great observation to watch. So I just think when you look at it, it's great for where the US soccer is, as they call it out here. Again, my daughter's playing. You see it every single week. Grassroots football out here is massive. And obviously they pay a lot of money to play it as well.
Sure.
But this will only grow it. This will only grow it.
Well, the fact they're doing well, Simon, it might change the European perception. And even if you like snobbery towards American soccer, if they do go deep and continue to surprise us.
Well, if we say it's snobbery, that will be seeded in the fact that they play domestic football without relegation. So there's this European attitude towards how football should be constructed, that relegation is part and parcel of it. If you look at the standard of their domestic football, MLS, it is poor, and it relies on overseas players to be able to make it look, reasonably decent. But we do know that there is a proliferation of American players, more American players playing around Europe. So it shouldn't be a surprise. I mean, come on now. Despite the fact that Pochettino looks like he swallowed an argo and is packing the pounds on because he's been over here for a while eating American ribs,
there's nothing wrong with that.
He is a decent manager, a high-level manager. So there's nothing more. I would have expected the Paraguayans to be better, the Australians to be better. Now, I don't want to denigrate the Americans' achievement, but they haven't played opposition that's particularly that good. Let's see when they land against them. Now, we saw them in Qatar, and to be honest, they were better than England in that game. And if they'd had somebody up top that had a bit of a bit more clinical, they might have made England embarrassed in that Qatar World Cup.
Yeah.
But they'll listen. I'm pleased that they're in this competition, that they're doing well, that they've qualified, because I think it makes background noise.
Yeah. It keeps it front and centre in the news as well, which is
just on what you were saying, though, look how many of them are playing in the top leagues, in Champions League football. There's not one or two anymore.
No, it's 5, 6, 7, 8,
Right.
8 of their team are all playing in Champions League football, so they're no mugs.
1:15. When we come back, I'm going to put this question out before we hit the first break. Should it always be football before family or family before football? We'll get to that. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan, Troy Deeney. We're live on talkSPORT this Monday morning here in New York, Monday afternoon back in the UK, in partnership with Toolstation. First stop, Toolstation.
Now, earlier in the show, we asked the all-important question. Who was faster in their pomp? Kyle Walker or Gabby Bonlahor? Well, talkSPORT's Anil Kandala was at the talkSPORT fan zone at Villa Park last night for England against Croatia, and he put that question to some of the fans in attendance.
It's a tough call, but I'd go for Gabby. He was awesome, and no defender wants anybody with that pace running at them. So I'd go for Gabby. I would.
Quicker than Kyle Walker?
I think so. Yeah, I do. And I'm sure Gabby would agree with me.
Gabby. Well, he used to dart across the field, didn't he? I think he's better than Kyle, to be honest.
Well, we had Kyle on loan for us for many years ago, and he was quick, but Gabby was quicker.
And there you go. It might be a little bit unfair because Gabby Bonlahor is in that building behind me, but it seems that Gabby's got the vote.
Right, the rest of the world. He actually spoke to about 100 people who were there, but we already decided to show 3, okay?
I clipped that up for them.
Yeah.
Do you know what, though? When I think about Kyle, when I go back to that game, Kyle, of like, I think it might be Germany at Wembley, and you was right side of the 3, but like you was all the way in the right back position, and I was at the game, mate, and you come sprinting across, mate. Someone was through on goal. I can't remember who it was. It was Muller, yeah. I'm like, where has this guy come from? And you've done that the last 15, 16 years, mate. Your centre-half pairings with England and Manchester City must have been looking at you thinking like, okay, maybe I can leave a bit of space in behind, because you would always just come out of nowhere and cover.
Yeah, I think that was what my game was based on. You know, I probably didn't create that much going forward with assists and stuff. I chipped in with a few, but not as much as probably what I should have done. So my main game when I got a little bit older was to make sure I can cover the back.
Incredible.
Here's a great suggestion. Jill's a regular contributor. She says, why not get both of them in the car park? Said, my money's on Kyle.
Just about, yeah.
You know football.
I'll have to kick him first.
Now, if you're watching live on YouTube, the Statue of Liberty looking amazing this morning. Strange light here in New York City this morning. There's going to be a lot of rain later, we are told. We're coming to you live, from the 50th floor of the World Trade Center. It's Jim White, it's Simon Jordan, and it's Troy Deeney. We are live in talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. First stop, Toolstation. A lot to get through this morning. It's the same every morning, because we bounce around, of course, around here, of course, in the USA and back home in the UK. It's been announced that Moses Itoma will fight Filip Hrgovic at the O2 in London on August the 29th, which isn't that far away, Simon. That's quite a fight. Both fighters will join us live on this show today. So we're looking forward to that immensely. What do you think of that one?
I think it's a good fight. I'm going to do the Cauldron thing with DAZN on it, so I'm going to be amongst those two boys. So I think it's a good fight. I mean, this is the level that Moses wanted to fight at. He wanted to fight at it now. Hrgovic is a very good fighter. He's come off the back of winning 3 fights against British fighters, all I think a level that are not world level. But it's a good fight, and he can. And Moses can obviously whack. He's perceived to be the new star in awaiting, and Hrgovic is nobody's fool. Good fight, proper fight.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. Troy, they'll join us shortly. In the meantime, Troy, I want to focus on this, because I wonder where you stand on this. Over here in the US, it's been revealed that the Belgian winger, Jeremy Doku, Manchester City's Jeremy Doku, he's faced criticism in some corners that he intends to leave this World Cup to attend the birth of his first child. Doku's wife, Shireen, is due to give birth in the second week of July, and that coincides with the quarterfinals. Doku says, and I think it's understandable, isn't it? It's my first child, so I definitely want to be there. L'Equipe female presenter France Pierron has hit back. The World Cup is an incredible joy. There are hundreds of footballers who would kill to be in your shoes, Doku's shoes. And she goes on, it might never happen again in your life. She says, if you pardon the expression, where the dad, of course, is completely useless at the birth of a child. That's her view, not mine. And she goes on to say, you're not going to cut an umbilical cord. You cannot miss a World Cup. Where do you stand on this, Troy?
It's the first time I've heard what the lady said.
She's strong.
She's an idiot, is what she is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said.
I think having a child is obviously the greatest thing that any human can do, in my opinion. And you know, say you're not going to cut the umbilical cord. Well, that's silly, because you can do that. But also, who are you to question somebody else's desire to be there with their child and their family? I think this would have been a conversation with Belgium beforehand. They know it's coming.
Yeah.
But I also think as well, you know, if I want to go be with my family because we're having a baby, who's reporter A to say whatever she wants to say? But also, let's flip that now. And a male had said that. Oh
yes, it would be misogyny to the highest level.
Yeah, I just think sometimes we live in a new world now where everyone wants to have clickbait and everyone wants to have a headline. But I miss the good old days where you could just tell someone, just shut up, because she's talking absolute nonsense. I've been fortunate enough to have 5 kids, and I've not missed the birth of one of them.
You haven't missed the birth of one of them? She is strong, Simon. I'm looking at another quote coming out of L'Equipe. France Pierron. She says, you're living out a childhood dream, yet you're going to walk away from it all to attend the birth of your child. A disgusting moment.
Disgusting?
A disgusting moment, she said.
But she's being, I mean, listen, there's a part of me that thinks there's no material benefit in giving her airtime. She's creating a noise because it gives her attention. We've seen this before. We saw Fabian Delph go back from the England team, and a lot of people suggested it was a wonderful thing for morale to show the human side of how you build an environment and respect individuals and have a human reaction to things. I can't take what this person says particularly seriously, because I don't think it's a serious set of observations. Because, you know, to suggest, first of all, he can come back to the World Cup.
Yeah.
You know, we do live in a day and age where you can fly about in quite great luxury. Yes, it would not be an ideal situation to lose an elite player from the team. I would have imagined that this would have been discussed in detail about the selection of this player. He's an elite player. We know he's an elite player, so he's a very significant part of the Belgium team. And this sort of observation, I don't know what the purpose of it is, because there's no real substance behind it. There's no decency behind it. There's no integrity. There's no informed knowledge. This is not an opinion from somebody I would stand back from and go, well, I actually must listen to you, because what you have to say is substantial. This is somebody that's got far too much to say, or actually far too little to say, and saying it too loudly.
Well, it's had a whole bunch of reaction, I have to say, even inside the England camp. Ollie Watkins reacted to it and reacted to the criticism. Have a listen.
It only happens once, you know. Your first child, welcoming them to the world is a blessing, and you don't get that opportunity. There's a lot of times where you're away from family and friends during the season, and it's very difficult periods. So to miss that would be tough, and I see where he's coming from. I think he has all right to go back and be there. You know, I think we're very privileged men at the end of the day, and I'm sure he will have a lot of support to be able to get back and get there as quickly as possible. Make sure he's there to support her, and then fly back out. So I don't think it's anyone else's business what he gets up to after training, and I think if he goes back and does that, I think that's fair enough. I would want to do it. I've got 2 kids, like I said, and I don't see the problem with it.
So Ollie's saying there, yeah, if it was me, I'd do the same. And yet, back in 2015, when a journalist asked the then Ireland assistant Roy Keane if striker Robbie Keane would be available for an upcoming match against Germany just after Robbie's wife gave birth, this was his response.
Robbie, why wouldn't he be?
Well, his wife just had a baby, and I think that might have delayed his arrival.
Yeah, but he didn't have the baby, did he? Unless he's breastfeeding, he should be all right.
So maybe we might have expected Roy to give an answer like that. Is there a comparison there between Doku and what went on then?
If I was Roy, and Roy's very plain speaking, sometimes he likes to occupy the role of a pantomime villain. But in this instance, he didn't have the baby. He's been there, seen his wife have the baby. If everything is fine and healthy, then he's not had the baby. He can go back and play football. But no one's saying that.
I did that, so.
Yeah, Doku, I mean, the tragedy of this world that we live in now, I would say it's style over substance. This isn't style, this is noise. This is noise over substance. And so this person who made this observation has achieved their end game, because we're talking about it. Questions are being put to players, so it creates the noise. Her objective in life was to be recognised, or to achieve some sort of notoriety or some sort of recognition, and she's now achieved it. It's a ridiculous set of observations.
Let's say it was a few weeks from now, and Belgium were in the final. Could he still go back to be at his wife's bedside?
Of course he can. So
if Belgium were in the World Cup final,
absolutely, of course he can. Because basically, whichever way you put it down, is that the baby and his wife is the most important thing to him. So it doesn't matter if you put a World Cup final there. It doesn't matter if you put £1 billion in front of him. The thing that is the most important to him at that moment is that. So I don't think that matters. Just to Simon's point now, I had my son Clay on December 23rd. Took my wife on December 25th, Christmas Day. Was at Boxing Day, played Sheffield United away. It's part and parcel of the game. Once the baby's home, wife's all good, now it's back to work. But I just think when you're talking about the world, people need to understand, right? If you are normal people at home, my friends watching this from home are probably working at the Land Rover now, calling me out all sorts of names. If to you, the World Cup final is everything, and I understand that. But if I ask you this question, if your wife's pregnant now and it's your first baby, would you stay at work for one day, or would you go and be with your family? And we all know the answer is go and be with your family. That's more important.
And you didn't respond to that, Simon, about Doku if Belgium got to the... Let me phrase it another way. If England got to the World Cup final and it was Harry Kane, would you be relaxed if Kane went to his wife's bedside and missed the final?
Well, no one's going to be relaxed about their best player being excluded from a game, and you try to make the circumstances fit so that the best possible outcomes were achieved for all parties. It depends what you think is important in life and what you think the right perspectives are.
I'm with you.
It's very easy to frame a conversation to people that have no skin in the game and ask them what they would do in those circumstances, what they would do if they owned a football club, what they would do if it was their money, what they would do if it was them that was ultimately going to have a child, and of course I'd do it. But we never get into that situation with those sort of people. I think the balance of probability is most people with very few exceptions, would choose the path of their family being more prevalent.
Yeah. We are live from New York, live with you back in the UK. In the world of boxing, Moses Atoma will fight Filip Hrgović at the O2 in London, August the 29th. Both fighters, I'm delighted to say, will be joining us by the miracle of Zoom later on this morning. In fact, pretty darn soon. Looking forward to speaking to them. We are live on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. First up, Toolstation.
Saka's England teammate Ollie Watkins, he spoke to the media over the weekend and says managing the Arsenal winger's injury is crucial to the team progressing.
Not in the physio department, but look, he hasn't missed a day of training, so I think that's a good thing. I think he's played so many games throughout these last few years. You can see because he's a crucial player for Arsenal and very important because you know he's a top quality player and he brings quality to the pitch for Arsenal and England. I think he's very important, as everyone can see. So I think, managing, niggles going into a competition is very important. You know, for the later stages, you need important players like him to be ready to play and step up when called upon. So, yeah, to play with him, I've only played with him a handful of times, but he's very unselfish and, that's perfect as a striker, someone who's always looking for you. And I feel like he makes always the right decision as a footballer. Whenever he receives the ball, he's going to always make the right decision, and I think that's the hardest thing to do in football.
How important is Saka? Do you want him to start tomorrow night? Because I thought the difference between him and Noni Madueke was big, understandably.
Yeah. It's difficult, isn't it? Because he has come out and said that he's fine to start, but it's about the injury. An Achilles injury you have to be careful with. I would start him tomorrow, and then why can't you bring him off at half-time like Spain did with Lamine Yamal?
Yeah.
I think when he come on, he showed. Madueke, listen, a very good player. When he gets into certain positions, it's the wrong pass or it's the wrong shot, and he smashes at shots. But that same positions, that Saka's more likely to score, to make the right pass. So I think there's a total difference between the both players. I will start him because as much as you want to...
It's one of the most infamous moments in World Cup history. Zidane's headbutt on Marco Materazzi in the 2006 final sent shockwaves through the footballing world. It wasn't a particularly ill-tempered final. Argentinian ref Horacio Elizondo had only shown 3 yellow cards until this point in extra time. Zidane and Materazzi had been the main protagonists of the match so far. Materazzi committed the foul for the penalty, which Zidane scored after 7 minutes. Then 12 minutes later, Materazzi equalised from a corner. Materazzi said in the 2020 interview he was asked at half-time to man-mark Zidane. So they'd been literally rubbing each other up the wrong way for more than an hour before the tension boiled over in extra time. Some reports suggested Materazzi had insulted Zidane's mother, but he successfully refuted that in a libel case 2 years later. According to the Italian, Zidane started it with a little insult, saying, "I'll give you my shirt later." Then he responded by saying, "I'd rather have your sister than your shirt." And Zidane switched. In 2022, he said, "I'm not at all proud of what I did, but it's part of my past." But would he apologise? To his teammates and fans, yes. But to Materazzi? I'd rather die.
Non, je ne regrette rien.
Good afternoon to everybody back home. It is 1:30 with you. You're into your Monday afternoon. We're getting into our Monday morning here in New York City, 25 to 9 here in this part of the world. Cape Verde making the headlines in the World Cup here this morning. They've been a revelation, have they not? We'll get back to the business of the World Cup very shortly. But meantime, with Simon alongside me and Troy, we're going to concentrate on boxing news back home, because it's been announced that Moses Itoma will fight Filip Hrgović at the O2 in London on August the 29th. And as this show often does, the main guys involved want to speak to us, and today is no exception. Let's head to Canary Wharf, and I'm delighted to tell you we are going to have a conversation live on the show this morning with one Moses Itoma. Moses, all the way from New York City. Hi to you. How do I find you?
What's going on? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You lift that microphone right under your mouth and we'll hear you better. Moses, Filip Hrgović, I believe you've gone head-to-head with him earlier on, back there this afternoon. How did that work out?
No, it was good. Always seeing people in flesh might be a different... I don't know, you might get a different energy than when you see online. So yeah, it was good to see.
Moses, obviously your reputation goes before you. Even at your young age, many fighters absolutely fear to get inside a ring with you. And it's hardly surprising, 14 fights, you're unbeaten, 12 of those 14 wins, knockouts. Is it going to be the same thing against Hrgović? What do you think?
I mean, that's my game plan, but that's what I hope for, but I never really go focusing on the knockout. I just focus on sticking to the game plan, and if it leads to a knockout, it leads to a knockout. If it don't, it don't. So I'm not really too focused on that, but we'll see in it.
Moses, this is the fight that you wanted. Why did you want Hrgović? You called it yourself. He's off the back of beating 3 British fighters. He's at a world level. You've got a similar opponent that you both fought, Dempsey McKean. You demolished Dempsey McKean in 1 round. It took him 12. Why do you want Hrgović, Moses?
No, to be fair, it was actually going to be... so I'm ranked number 1 with the WBO. He's ranked number 2. And had Fabio would have won, he would have relinquished the title, and then me and Hrgović could have fought for that real world title. So I could have been a world champion at 21, but... I mean, we didn't get that accolade, but I mean the Hrgović fight still stands, so I'm happy that I got that. To be fair, I didn't think that the fight was gonna happen until maybe last week or so, because we proposed the fight to him, and I kept asking every single day, has he signed? Has he signed? Has he signed? Never signed. So we started looking at other opponents, and then it was maybe towards the end of last week. He was like, oh, actually, I want the bout agreement. So I was like, you know what? We're on now.
What does he represent to you, Moses? I mean, obviously, a lot of people are making a lot of noise. You'll be very conversant with it. You're very level-headed, so you keep it in the background. But obviously, the demolition of Jermaine Franklin that went the distance with Dillian Whyte and went the distance with Anthony Joshua made even more noise. What does Hrgović potentially represent to you? If you go in and demolish him, is it proving your point, or is it you stepping up a level and proving it to yourself?
It's just my job, Simon. It's I just got to fight the people that are above me. I've got to fight the people that I can. Obviously, Hrgović is with or is under Frank Warren and contractually was able to fight me, so he was an available opponent. And out of the 4 or 5 names that I had, I thought Filip Hrgović was the best opponent out of all of them, and I said, let's make that fight happen. And obviously, because he's actually signed to Queensberry, Frank Warren, it was like, yeah, man, let's do it. Because other fights, there could have been other fights that are different, but they are more difficult to make. Whereas this one, obviously under the same promotional banner, obviously he's ranked higher than me in some governing bodies. I was just like, yeah, man, get the bag or get the man with the bag.
Moses, I just wanted to ask you on that, just the difficulty of finding fights now. You're at that place where everyone wants you to go world title level, and anyone who you kind of fight, it's kind of discredited to you, like the job you do, it's like you're expected to beat them. How hard is it now for you to find the right opponent?
To be honest, it's not really my job. Like, my job is just going in the ring and doing the business. Obviously, since I turned pro, I realised that your career isn't entirely in your hands; it's in the hands of promoters and managers. So I just have an opinion on things, but like I said, it's not really my job. For what I can do is I can fight, and I seem to be doing my job very well.
What do you think of Hrgović? I mean, obviously he's an articulate man, he's a confident man, he's considered to be an elite level fighter. He's just beaten 3 British fighters in a row. We saw what Daniel Dubois did to him. What do you think of him as a fighter?
I think he's very good, and I personally think he's one of the best of the crops. He's got a win over Zhile Zhang, Joe Joyce, David Adley, Dave Allen. He had a good fight with Daniel Dubois, which only got stopped off a cut. Had he not have had a cut, the fight could have been different, because I had him up on the scorecards personally. Olympic silver medalist, that was bronze medalist. Come on, like, the guy has achieved a lot. So I guess the good thing in boxing is I can claim them achievement, if that makes sense. So Filip Hrgović would have done all these great things, but if I'm able to do a number on him, then people are going to be like, yeah, Hrgović was good, but you see what Moses Talma did to him? Do you know what I'm saying? So it's just a respect thing and a kind of an ego, boost my ego.
Moses, just before you leave us, I've met you on numerous occasions now, and I know you guys only focus on the next fight, and your next fight is Hrgović. But you're a very humble guy. Say you dispatch Hrgović going forward, and I also know you disrespect nobody. You have the utmost respect for everybody in the fight game. Is there anyone you fear out there?
That I fear?
Yeah.
Did you say
Is that
fear?
not a word that's even in your vocabulary?
No, I'm shocked that you said it. Listen, I think boxing is, for me, it's a puzzle. And with the right preparation, I don't feel like there's a puzzle that I can't solve. So I wouldn't say that I necessarily fear anyone. It's just there are fights out there that might be easier than others.
Moses, don't worry, it's someone that's never been punched in the face or threw a punch before, Jim White, that asked you that question.
This is true, and I wouldn't like to be, especially by Moses Atoma. Moses, thank you very much indeed. The fight press conferences later on this afternoon in London, around 3 o'clock UK time. The man he goes in against, Hrgović, is also going to join us live today, and we'll try and find out from him, Simon, what he thinks he's got to do to dispatch Moses Atoma, which is no easy job for anyone.
Well,
clearly.
he said it himself, didn't he? He said Moses never reached the promised land.
Right. Okay, Hrgović will be joining us in the fullness of time on this show today, and we look forward to that. We've got a lot to get through here in New York City. Stay with us. We're with you live on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. Fast Track delivers to you from 30 minutes. First stop, Toolstation.
Steve Cox taking a bit of heat since the Morocco game, Alan, because, there was a feeling that Shankland, who is a natural finisher, maybe should have been on the pitch, never got a chance.
Well, I was going to come to that, guys, because this Brazil game, what does he do? Does he sit back and if we get beat 1-0, it's probably enough to qualify, which is remarkable, which is brilliant. Or does he have a go and say, look, let's push them back, let's try and get at them. Now, who do you play up front? Do you play Shea Adams again, who's more mobile than Shanklin? Shanklin is the best finisher Scotland have got in the squad. He's a McCoy's job. You know, he can finish, make no mistake. So he'll be kicking Steve Clark saying, you got to play me, I'm in great form. So it's an interesting one. But whoever plays there, as I say, guys, I think John McGinn's the one who's got to try and spark off him when the ball goes forward. We've got to retain some sort of possession, or we're going to be under so much pressure. And down that left-hand side, Vinicius Jr., you know, that's the side that really worries me for Scotland. We've got to block that off. But in saying that, look, as long as we defend better, give no stupid goals away. In fact, the goal against Morocco, that was a great finish. I'm not going to whinge and say, how can you lose a goal that early? It was a great finish. It was an offside decision. He pushed up when he shouldn't have done, and we got punished. After that, second half, we were great. I thought Christie come on and done well. And I thought the boy from Norwich done well. Kenny McLean, he come on and done well. So it's going to be an intriguing one. It's going to be, all eyes will be on the coach to see what he does and how he plays and what formation he plays.
I mean, another one is Gannon Doak, who's very popular with the fans. But you talk about Vinny Jr., I mean, maybe one way...
He looked good when he came.
Yeah.
In both games he's looked good.
But he's great going forward, isn't he? Well, maybe you've got to do a defensive job first, and if you need to be chasing it, that's when you bring Gannon Doak on, I guess.
Yeah, well, this is the dilemma that, you know, managers have to make, because as fans...
Good morning, everybody, from New York City. Good afternoon back home in the UK. We're coming to you live from the World Cup 2026, of course, over here in the USA. I covered my first World Cup back in Mexico in 1986. Funnily enough, we have an anniversary on this very day, 40 years on. You remember this?
Maradona trying to drive forward again. Steve Hodges put it in the air. Jumps and Maradona scores. England claim handball. All of the England players rushing towards the referee. Fennick is furious.
Remember that, the hand of God. Maradona. Simon, is that still one of the most renowned World Cup moments, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the most talked about.
I think you can look at the '66 World Cup where Jeff Hurst hits the ball when it doesn't go over the line in many people's eyes. But yeah, I mean, he's a cheat. That was cheating. There's no other way of calling it. You can't call it anything else, can you? I mean, people say, oh, wonderful, it's an opportunist, but it was cheating.
Yeah, I mean, Terry Butcher's always maintained that.
It was cheating.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard for us because we wasn't born. So, you know, we're just trying to...
So when you listen to a Beatles record, you can't comment on it?
I've never listened to a Beatles record. I couldn't tell you.
Good point.
So, yeah.
Having said that, you two, if England were to win the World Cup out here,
like
by similar means, you'd take it.
Yeah, but you'd still apply.
Would you? Wait.
No, I would.
You'd come in on the following day saying that's cheating. We shouldn't win it.
I would say it was cheating because it's cheating. Well, I would. I would say it was cheating because it's cheating.
It's them back there saying, you know what I mean?
It is cheating. It is cheating.
It is cheating.
You
but
can't have it both ways. You can't have.
Yeah, of course.
You've either got integrity. If you want to have a position and speak in the media, you should be able to say something with impunity and integrity. And if we did the same thing, I'd say the same thing. I'd turn around and say I'm going to take it. Because it's not my job. It's the referee's job. Some people would argue.
I actually believe this, man, and I do believe you're different on it, Troy.
That'd be exactly the same. It's cheating, but I wouldn't care. I'd still be in my England jersey with some face paints on.
Yeah.
Coming in the night out. So, yeah, absolutely.
We'd take it.
You're never going to get to that position, are you?
Thanks for that. It's time for this.
The Playbook with talkSPORT Bet. Download the app or visit talksportbet.com for all the latest odds and offers. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
We'd take it. Anybody would take it, wouldn't they? Time to look ahead to the day with talkSPORT Bet and their ambassador, who's a good friend of this show nowadays, Ryan Douglas. Ryan, it's 40 years on. Can you believe it's 40 years on?
I can't believe it. And do you know what's weird about that scenario as well? If that was played today, VAR would have ruled that goal out. That would have been one of the most historic things. That, just chalked off the board. So yeah, but 40 years now, as Troy pointed out. I wasn't born then. 91 over here. So
fair enough. 40 years on, though, I wonder what Scotland have learned, because I remember we're in a similar situation and going in against Uruguay in the third game, we had to beat them to get out the group. And you might remember Simon Strachan get maimed in the first minute. The Uruguayan was sent off, still the fastest ever red card at a World Cup.
Wow!
And our 11 couldn't beat their 10 over 90 minutes. And it was a point apiece, and out went Scotland.
It'll be different this time around, I'm sure. You'll be getting out of the group, don't you?
It'll be 11. Yeah. They'll go out.
Ryan, thank you for that. Let's hope so. Lamine Yamal is off and running, right?
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. And I was telling the boys in the World Cup weekend on the weekend, O'Hara and Rory, he probably will open up his account, and that he did. 18 years of age, it's synonymous when you talk about Yamal, you talk about his age, don't you? I can tell you he's fifth in the running right now to be the player of the tournament. You can get him at 9-1. Troy, is it crazy that we're not just saying an 18-year-old might be one of the best in the world, that he already is one of the best in the world? What is the ceiling on this player?
He's one of the world's best. It's not crazy. We've seen it before with Michael Owen, and we saw it with Wayne Rooney. We saw it with many players. And again now, when clubs, and so you can talk to this better than me, you see a young talent at 14, 15, they see this could be either what we sell the merchandise that could help the first team, or we can actually sell him and make a load of profit. So it's easier for younger players to come through now than it ever used to be.
The question is, to your observation about how far these kids can go, it would appear to me that in our country, we do our very level best to make sure these kids are criticised, pulled down, ridiculed, parodied, whittled down, where we seem in other countries, they seem to be celebrated and heralded, and their mistakes sort of categorised in a way. You watch Rooney, look at what we did, look at to some extent, and maybe Jude is the architect of his own downfall, but look at what's been done to Jude Bellingham. Yeah. He's a superstar. Wayne Rooney was a world elite footballer, but there was this constant degradation of these players, some of it brought upon by themselves, whereas it would appear when they've got younger players in other countries, they're built up and they're celebrated and they're cherished and they're protected.
Given the room to breathe.
So that might give them the opportunity to be the best they can, that they can, very much be. Whereas we seem to want to societally pull them down. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh on our culture, but it feels like that.
No, I agree.
Maybe. Curacao made history. I mentioned them earlier. Oh no, I spoke about Cape Verde, but Curacao are doing the same thing. They've secured their first ever World Cup point. They're making the headlines out here, Ryan, and it's nice to see.
Yeah, they're doing amazingly well. And, I mean, in terms of how it relates to the odds, unfortunately, 16-1 to get out of the group. So, I mean, the odds, the talkSPORT the traders indicate that might just be a bit too much of an uphill battle. 1-20 to finish bottom. So they're so odds on to finish bottom. But you look at, and you're holding on the keeper, Eloy Room, at 37 years old, keeper, currently, I think he's signed for Miami. 15 saves he made. That's one shy of the record at a World Cup. Is a performance like that, Simon, at that age, do you think, is it too late? Can I maybe not an elite club, but maybe a championship club? Or
well, goalkeepers go much longer, don't they? We saw Dino Zoff playing at the highest level at quite a significant age. Brad Friedel's been in the studio talking about us. I mean, look, the older you get, the more difficult it becomes for you because age catches up with you. So it's doubtful. But notwithstanding that, goalkeepers are like a fine wine. They mature, They have different, different attributes. So whilst I don't think he'll keep goal at an elite side, he will still have opportunities to be a good goalkeeper in a good standard of football.
Yeah. Who's it? The guy you had at Palace with the tracksuit bottom?
Gabor Kiraly.
What a character he was, wasn't he?
Yeah, I could have strangled him when he came out in the 87th minute. Like some people would say Superman, I said Cooperman. Russ Abbott missed it, and Charlton equalised and relegated us in the last game of the season. So that's the memory I have of Gabor and his tracksuits. I'd like to have strangled him with his tracksuit bottoms. But he was a decent goalkeeper, Hungarian.
We were over in Brooklyn at the weekend, Ryan, watching on the big Adidas screen. Germany coming back from a goal down to beat the Ivory Coast. For the first time since winning the World Cup in 2014, they've made it out of the group stages. I wonder how significant that might be.
Yeah, well, are they contenders? I suppose we're all looking at that now. I put together a little double here. Germany to win the World Cup and Undav to beat their top goal scorer, not the top goal scorer, their top goal scorer. And that's 21-1 double. So I suppose that's not a bad price, by the way. Are you considering them contenders, Troy, Germany, having a look at... No, straight up.
No, I didn't think they were the best in that game. They had a striker in Undav who's very tidy player. But you got to remember as well, Brighton, he had a little spell at Brighton, didn't do great there. But to Simon's point, as a striker, when that ball's fizzed into you, it makes it so easy for you then, because you know what you're going to do. There's so many times a sloppy pass, a bobbly pass comes in and it ruins it. But I thought they were second best throughout the whole of that game. For the Ivory Coast were much better. I thought Diamandi on the wing looks a talent, and if Liverpool can get him, if Liverpool can get him, he'll be frightening. But all in all, I didn't think Germany were that good. Again, vulnerabilities at the back.
But you knew that Germany were going to pay for it. The Ivory Coast were going to pay for their profligacy. As long as this game was going, because I was watching it with these American kids, and I'm saying they're going to pay for this. Their profligacy, their domination of the game is not being turned into goals, and the Germans will get chances. And inevitably they did. They got good players, the Germans. I mean, Nagelsmann, as much as I find him, I don't know about Nagelsmann. He gets on my nerves a little bit. But these are good players playing at big clubs. So I wouldn't write the Germans off, but I don't think they've got the chops to overcome the major teams in the.
I also think the further you go down, again, Rudiger has been great for a long time, but he's got an accident waiting there. It just feels like all of them are maybe one World Cup too many.
We watched it on a big screen, Ryan, with the world's most animated football fan, this fella from the Ivory Coast. My God, he was going through every emotion you could imagine. What about the Netherlands? Let's finish with them. A statement win. 5-1 against the Swedes.
It was, wasn't it? And Sweden are no mugs. I mean, we talked about their firepower. That was a really big result. They were favourites going into it, because I covered it on the weekend. They were favourites, but still, that was as convincing as it gets. And you can get Netherlands right now 14-1 to win the tournament. Again, I've done the same thing with Gakpo being their top goal scorer and Netherlands winning it, and that boosts it up to 30-1. So if you've seen them and you like them, that's not a bad shout. Would you consider them bigger contenders than the Germans then? Considering you don't really rate Germany.
They win it, Troy?
No, they won't win it, but they can't. They've got more than Germany. I thought with Robbie being through the middle, the kid from Sunderland, he was mustard. Physical, strong, can play with his back to goal. But the most important thing, when it goes wide, he just crashes the 6-yard box, and he sees goals. He's there on the end of it. I thought when they had with Marlon needs a very specific skill set. It needs to be slipped in down the sides. Robbie's a proper handful, and because he's been at Sunderland, he's got that level of up. But also, Si, as you know, when you get promoted, every player has to do 1.5 jobs just to stay in the league. So he works that whole back line on his own, so he was very impressive.
When you get promoted, you remember that experience.
Graham Potter can't catch much of a break, can he?
No. He did win that big Stetson.
Well, he did catch a break, to be fair, because Sweden should never got into the World Cup to some extent.
That game could have been 8-4, though. It was all over.
That's where the Dutch are going to fall down. They're not good defensively.
Ryan, thanking you. That was a look at the latest odds, thanks to talkSPORT Bet 18+. GambleAware.org.
The Playbook with talkSPORT Bet. Download the app or visit talksportbet.com to see all our latest sign-up offers. 18+, GambleAware.org.
lots has been made about the fitness or lack of for Declan Rice. He came off during the win over Croatia. He's played 63 matches this season and admitted that he's been nursing a hammy for the last 6 months. England legend Stuart Pearce, who coached Rice at West Ham, discussed Rice's fitness and his role at the World Cup.
It's a great challenge for him. You know, he's a team player, always has been magnificent as a team player. You take him off, he's not going into himself and sulking, you know. He'll see the greater good and the reasoning behind it. And if he's got anything about him that I think he has, when he's had bad moments at West Ham, when he was on his ascendancy, he'll embrace them and make him a better player.
For more reaction from Stuart Pearce, you can check out the World Cup Daily Podcast. Who play? I don't have a problem if Rice is injured tomorrow. Even if he's got a little niggle, I would not play him. That's why we've got a squad, right? Of
course.
Who'd you bring in? Is it Henderson? What do you do?
You could bring Henderson, or you could just play Bellingham next to Anderson and Rodgers as a 10.
Yeah.
I'm not being, no offence to Ghana, some very good players.
I totally agree. How
watching
strong is
Ghana
that?
in their first game, they're nothing to worry about. And that's just being as respectful as I can be about the Ghana side. We should not be playing anybody who's got a niggle. If it's Saka, if it's Rice, we've got the squad of players.
Even Kane in these games.
Yeah, okay, Watkins, you're in. Because every other team's doing it.
Yeah.
Look at Neymar, he's gone. He's not ready. Okay, wait till you're ready. Rafinha, he's now out to the latter stages. They're keeping him there to see if he's ready for the late stages of the tournament. Lamine Yamal come off, could have played longer. You've had a niggle before the tournament. Let's take you off. It's all about managing the squad in
Sport.
For the headlines at 2 minutes past 2, I'm Tom Clayton. Good afternoon. We've been told Argentina can definitely win the World Cup. Tonight they're in their second group match, this time facing Austria, live on talkSPORT at 6 p.m. Julio Arcas says Messi isn't the only reason to be optimistic.
The philosophy is still the same. They got experience. I think when we talk about the defence, the back four the other day were really good, and we have some other great players in the bench as well.
Meanwhile, Spain are definitely feeling optimistic after their 4-0 win over Saudi Arabia last night. The former assistant coach Pep Clotet says this team is a completely different beast with Lamine Yamal in it.
Possibly the others are really good players, but they have to be on a best day to be able to produce that. You know, I think Spain will be very dependent at the moment with Yamal.
Meanwhile, Cape Verde superfan says the Blue Lions are proof that the World Cup expansion was the right move by FIFA. A win against Saudi Arabia would take them to second in their group and into the knockouts. Now it's been confirmed Germany's Niklas Schlotterbeck is out of the World Cup with an ankle injury. Meanwhile, Neymar is expected to return for Brazil in their final group game against Scotland, live on talkSPORT on Wednesday. So how does Scotland approach the game, knowing full well a point would be enough to progress to the knockouts? Here's talkSPORT's Alan Brazil, who joined us earlier.
I think we've got to have a little go, I really do, and get some support to the forward player, whoever that may be, if it's Shanklin or Shea Adams, whoever is up there on their own. I think McGinn's got to get closer to him quicker to try and give him a hand.
And 4 race meetings have been cancelled on Wednesday after the Met Office issued a rare red heat warning. Meetings in Worcester, Salisbury, Kempton and Foss Lass are all off. Meanwhile, Carlisle's meeting will still go ahead. Get more at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Sir Keir Starmer has resigned as Andy Burnham confirms he will run to replace him as Prime Minister. Wes Streeting, who was seen as a contender, has already said he won't stand and he's backing Burnham. Reform UK is calling for a general election. For full analysis, head to Times Radio.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. This summer, treat yourself to Bridgestone Turanza All-Season 6 tyres with a 25,000 mileage guarantee. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
Increasingly hot and humid in the southeast, where the best of the sunshine is. Elsewhere, cloudy with a few areas of showery rain, particularly in the north and in Scotland.
We are indeed live from the 50th floor of the World Trade Center. New Yorkers going to their work this morning, just the back of 9 o'clock here in the morning in New York City, the back of 2 o'clock where you are back home. And it's another big day at these World Cup finals here in the USA. 3 of the World Cup superstars all in action tonight on talkSPORT. Following this show today, Lionel Messi's Argentina take on Austria. That's at 6 o'clock. You can hear Kylian Mbappe's France against Iraq at 10 p.m. tonight. Whilst at 1 in the morning, and there are plenty of Norwegians here, Erling Haaland's Norway are in New York and they take on Senegal. Okay, so that's Messi, Mbappe and Haaland all in action as we bring you live commentary of all 3 of those matches right here on talkSPORT this evening. Troy Deeney in studio with Simon. You were pointing behind my back. I was turning around to think, what are they looking at?
Clean the windows.
The window cleaner's coming again.
I have to say, the world's bravest window cleaner is alive and well in New York City. How he does it, I do not know.
My palms go sweaty, doesn't it?
It's unreal.
I don't like it at all.
Isn't it?
I mean, because of that, I just pointed it out that it was there. So
it is quite amazing to see this guy in action. Just gets on with it.
I think Luke should be based on one of those things outside.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Producer Luke, we have a job idea for you. Of course, I mentioned to you, and I continue to mention to you, why wouldn't we? We keep across all the news that breaks back home in the world of boxing. You heard from Moses Atoma. He'll fight Hergovic at the O2 in August. We're going to hear from Filip Hergovic from London very shortly. He'll be joining us live. But on the football front, there's a lot happening. And Troy, I wonder what you make of this. You too, Simon. Newcastle United rejected a £75 million offer from Tottenham for Sandro Tonali. Talks between the two clubs ongoing. Newcastle value him closer to 100 million. But Troy, my question to you is this. What kind of indictment is it of Newcastle if they end up losing star players to Tottenham?
Oh, great question. I think it's an indictment because I think historically we'd say Spurs have a bigger club, right? The top 6, the big 6, Spurs are part of that. I think it's just it's interesting for where Newcastle find themselves. Obviously, with the Saudi ownership, we all expected there was going to have this level of spend over a course of time, and it just feels like they're always hampered. So I mean, they can't really kick on because of this PSR rule, and this is ultimately going to be their new normal until they get a new stadium and they can generate different ways in. But for me, he's a top player, and if for whatever reason Spurs can nick him, and this would be my plea to the Spurs guys. Go in with 90 million today. Don't wait around. Don't let it go weeks and months because you're going to lose him. He's going to go somewhere else. And he is a top player. One of the best.
For him, Troy, is it a step up? I mean, when you look, they've signed Robertson, Senesi and Jan-Bol Van Hecke from Brighton.
I would say no at this moment in time because Spurs have finished 17th 2 years in a row. I don't really know what Spurs are. I've been saying this for a few years now. What is the criteria when you go to Spurs? They don't pay the top wages, so they're never competing. I feel like when you go to Spurs to prove you can do it, to kick on again. And if that's
stepping stone.
Yeah, and that's a bad thing to say about a top club.
It depends what you're looking at through Spurs. Is Roberto De Zerbi a better manager than Eddie Howe?
Ooh.
Do Spurs have the position in terms of financial landscape that Newcastle wished to inhabit? Because it wasn't so long ago that Spurs were one of the big 4, big 5 clubs that were determining the course of the destiny around the Premier League. Daniel was at the helm of things in terms of the intellectual capital that Spurs were bringing to the table. They have a £500 million, £600 million turnover. So they have all the ingredients to be a big football club. They just haven't been able to achieve it for a multitude of reasons. Do I think he goes to Tottenham? No, I don't. I think he'll go to a club that's more imminently successful than Spurs. And that's not decrying or devaluing Spurs. The challenge for Newcastle is how do they get to where people's perception of them, in terms of the mind's eye of the ownership. For want of a better expression, I think the Saudis have shot their bolt. I don't think they're going to spend lots and lots of money on sports per se now, and I think if they were going to do it, I think you might find the Saudis are going to sell this football club, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that happening in the immediate or near future or relatively near future. And so you look at it and say, what do Newcastle become? We've had this, I think, frankly, ridiculous set of observations from their chief executive. First of all, he didn't want to commit himself to Eddie Howe, which opened up a whole raft of controversies, and then he rode back from that. And then he talks about the 2030 project. Well, we all know what the 2030 project is. It's about Saudi building itself into a whole raft of other things in its own country. But they index everything they do to the 2030 project. Now he's talking about Newcastle winning the league by 2030. Not even if you were the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. Could you believe that fairy tale? Right? Because there's no possible way you're going to be able to achieve it, irrespective of what Leicester did 10 years ago. Right? So I look at it now and say, unfortunately for Newcastle, they don't get any reward for being patient with Tonali, because Tonali let them down. He got himself into a compromised position through gambling, and Newcastle lost a significant period of time. The only way he repays them is if Newcastle get a great big whacking fee. I don't know if he's a £100 million footballer, but then what does a £100 million football look like in this day and age? I don't think a £100 million footballer is Enzo Fernandez, but that's what someone paid for him.
But does this end if Troy's right and they come back in with 90 million, Simon?
But I don't think. I think that will be used as a mechanism to lever other football clubs by the agent that's looking around going, Spurs will now play the wages because they know they've got to. They've made so much noise now about what the previous regime under Daniel was and how they're going to change things. They know that the big thing they've got to fix, because we all know that Spurs will spend 150 to 200 million pounds a season. They've done it. They did it under Daniel's tenure. The big thing is, will they meet the wages? I just feel, and I hope I'm wrong for Spurs fans, I feel that Tonali's agent, whoever he is, will be levering the circumstance in the same way that Ez's agent levered the circumstance with Tottenham, and Tottenham will be utilised to be able to create a benchmark for how much this player can get from XYZ club.
So it's all about leverage.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
In the negotiation for the agent, probably.
If you was owner, you had 100 million, you can only get one of the two. Would you take Elliot Anderson or would you take Tonali?
I think Elliot Anderson.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think
he's younger. He's younger.
I think in terms of where they're at right now, I think Tonali's top level.
Yeah, he is a top player.
Elsewhere, guys, we were a bit kind of jaw-dropped last week when we heard the news that came out of Ipswich Town, newly promoted Ipswich Town, that Kieran McKenna had gone to the chairman, Mark Ashton, a good friend of this show, and said, you know what, I need time out. So we remember speaking to Ashton, of course we did. He came on this show live from the UK, and he spoke about what may or may not happen now after McKenna goes.
If you look at my history of recruiting managers, I'm proud that I give them British managers their first opportunity, whether that's Aidy Boothroyd, whether that's Brendan Rodgers, whether that's Kieran McKenna, all went on to be very successful in their own right. Is it impossible to do that this time round? It's not impossible, but it's far more difficult. You know, to give Kieran his opportunity in League One and he can build. Brendan had the opportunity in the Championship and could build. Aidy the same. You know, giving a manager their first job in the Premier League is not impossible, but it is difficult. Some would say it's more risky. The likes of Brentford have just done it extremely well, but they are an established Premier League club and have the infrastructure and the readiness for that. So again, I think, look, we'll look at all markets. It's interesting already the quantum of names that have come in. They're very varied, and we're working through those now.
So that was Mark Ashton, and he spoke about British managers. Ipswich, we now hear, pushing to complete the appointment of Strasbourg's Gary O'Neill as their new head coach. Simon, what do you think? What kind of appointment would that be? Would it enhance their Premier League survival chances?
Well, I'm always torn by these sort of conversations because I've got to decide whether I want to be someone that broadcasts honestly or I want to keep my relationships with people. I don't think Gary O'Neill is particularly strong. And when I spoke to him, without being too indiscreet, and he won't appreciate it, so I'll be indiscreet because I don't know how to be anything else, I didn't think what I heard from him after the Wolverhampton Wanderers gig gave me any confidence in him. And I told him at the time, I think you're weak. Now, I don't know whether people can change and circumstances can change and experiences. You should never form one opinion and stay with it. I think he was massively underestimated at Bournemouth, and he picked up the reins with Scott Parker's outburst and turned Bournemouth into a decent side.
Yeah.
Of course, he lost his job, and we saw what the new kid going into Bournemouth actually achieved, because he's now at Liverpool, right? And we saw him at Wolves, and I don't think he controlled that dressing room. I think Cunha was a problem, but I think he allowed him to be one. I think the other players didn't like what was going on there with the Tommy Doyers of the world and so on and so forth. So my takeaway from Gary, and I said to him, and I know he won't appreciate this, was, come on, man, you've got to be a bit stronger than that. So I can't help but have that in my mind. But he's gone into Strasbourg. He's done a decent job. Do I think it's a fit for Ipswich? If I'm honest, no, I don't. And I said that to Mark. But Mark is across it.
I think Mark would respect that from you.
Yeah, but that's fine. But it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
But that's irrelevant. What he is interviewing. He's talking to the person. I was talking to John Terry this morning on a different show with I do with peers, and talking about football management.
Yeah.
And, about how wonderful you were as a player doesn't mean you're going to be a big manager, because sometimes you interview better, and sometimes people that you aren't impressed by when you see them in the media are actually very good at interviewing.
Right.
So that always often explains to me why people didn't get jobs. Now, Gary is a good football man. He was a decent player. He's a decent coach. This is a disaster for Ipswich. It really is. Don't be under any estimation that this is an easy set of circumstances for Mark. You've got Kieran McKenna that's bought. Some would say, "Where's your succession programme? Why haven't you emulated what Brentford have done?" Well, Brentford have had stability. They stayed in the Premier League, whereas Ipswich have gone down and back up again.
Yeah.
And Kieran, and I hope he's being honest, has kind of left it in a situation where they're in limbo. So it's a difficult choice. But if it were me, with respect to Gary, I can't see myself.
Troy, briefly, Gary O'Neill.
Yeah, everything that Simon says, I think as well, it's very difficult. He's done decent at Strasbourg. That came out of left field as well, by the way. No one knew where that came from.
Yeah.
And now to go into a Premier League, with the greatest respect to an Ipswich who don't have the squad as currently constructed as we sit here today. It's not a team that we don't think that can absolutely stay up. So it's a big risk. And I have Wolves, and I know a lot of the lads who were at Wolves at that time. And they were very disappointed with how Cunha was allowed to do whatever he wanted, but everybody else had to apply to a different set of rules. Sometimes that works, but normally that doesn't work.
But the argument they'd say that at Man United, I remember Brucey telling me that Eric Cantona could do what he wanted. Within reason, Alex Ferguson let him do what he wanted. He's just Eric.
But also on the flip side to that, that's Man United with a history, a good load of leaders.
And a better framework.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think Ipswich have that, and Wolves certainly didn't. And you're getting very nervous with this guy behind us.
We were talking moments ago about what is needed to do the likes of the job at newly promoted Ipswich Town. Got to be mentally strong. I have to say, the two gentlemen behind us here, talk about mentally strong. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on talkSPORT, I'll describe it to you. We are very high up here, the 50th floor of the World Trade Center, and these window cleaners behind us, if he was to come down a level, you'd actually see them. But they are in there stretching out and cleaning the windows. And I cannot tell you what the sheer drop from this height actually looks like. My God. I mean, talk about brave. I don't know. I don't get it. Couldn't be me. Wouldn't be you, Simon. No. Troy, you could probably do it, mate. I could see you out there.
For the right cost, I do quite a lot of things, unfortunately.
OK, you're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan, Troy Deeney, and the two bravest window cleaners in the world. And we're all live in partnership with Toolstation. First up, Toolstation.
And I were talking about that in great detail on yesterday's show about whether or not he should start, how much game time he should have. Because he's Cristiano Ronaldo, I think there's so much pressure on the manager, Roberto Martinez, to pick him, to start him, etc. What's your view on a situation like that? What do you do, Rio?
Well, Roberto Martinez is paid the money to make this decision, and I think it's the way that he handles that it will be key. I think if he was going to attempt to kind of take Cristiano Ronaldo out of the team, I think it's all about the narrative. I think it's all about approaching him and going, listen, if he thinks this is how I'll do it. We've got a better chance of winning it for you coming on with 30 minutes to go when the opposition are tired, when their limbs are all weary, lactic acid is building up in all these players' legs, and they see Cristiano Ronaldo warming up on the side, and you come on and terrorise them and capitalise on that in the latter stages of the games. Do you think anyone's going to be bothered when you lift that trophy as our captain? No. So here we go. You're going to start some games, but then some you're not going to start. But that's part of the plan. And at 41 years old, I'm sure that Cristiano would understand that because, listen, we all know, Benny, you're the same. When we were getting older, things weren't working as quickly, as smoothly as they once were. But there's no denying the guy's potent. When the ball drops in the box, if you had three players to the top 3 players in the world for the ball to drop to, he'd be one of the guys you wanted to drop to even still now because he's that potent. He's got almost 1,000 goals. But listen, if it was down to me, I think I would take that same approach I just mentioned there. I'd pull him in and out of games depending on the opponents. And I just have to make sure that I talk to him and make sure he understands that. But one thing I would say when I watched him, I think a lot of blame and a lot of people are pointing the finger at Cristiano. I don't think the actual service into him was great either, by the way, or an opportunity to put his way often. I saw quite a few options to play the ball forward, didn't take them options up. And I think if you're going to have him in your team, you've got to find him as often as you can. And they've got great players who can do that.
We're live in New York. It is Monday morning in this part of the world, Monday afternoon where you are, back in the UK, 20 past 2 to be precise. And we are live on YouTube. Simon and I and Troy are looking away literally as the bravest window cleaners in the world are going about their business, not even looking in this studio, just getting on with it out there, 50 floors up outside the World Trade Center. How do they do it, Troy? How do they do it, Simon?
I don't know and I don't want to look.
Amazing. There he goes. He's not even looking in. He's got earpods in. Maybe he's listening to the show live. Oh, maybe. Let's go back to London because talking about bravery, Filip Hrgović is one brave guy. It's been announced this morning that Moses Atoma will fight Filip Hrgović at the O2 in London. August the 29th for that. We heard from Moses Atoma a short time ago. Let's head back to Canary Wharf. I'm delighted to say top Croatian fighter Filip Hrgović joins us live on the show. Filip, hi to you from New York. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, Croatia, and you're a proud Croatian. Croatia lost to England in their opening game here at the World Cup finals. Do you hope then that they can recover and do something special here at the USA?
Of course, man. Croatians are warriors. We never give up. And we had, for such a small country, amazing run last 2 World Cups. And I hope so now. Again, we're gonna, win next 2 games and go further.
I wouldn't put it past them to do just that. Filip, you're a proud Croatian and you're going against Atoma. We now know the fight will be at the O2 in London, August the 29th. What do you go in against? How do you view Moses Atoma? Because this is a guy seemingly that no one really wants to fight because he's just a wrecking ball every time he goes in the ring.
Yeah, it was similar. We were talking about football. You remember last 2 World Cups when Croatia played against England in semi-finals. So we were underdogs, big underdogs, but we kicked their ass, so it's gonna happen again with Moses Atuma and myself.
Very good. Here's Simon Phillip.
I mean, Philip, obviously this is an interesting fight for lots of people because a lot of the noise will be made about Moses. When that noise constantly keeps getting put in your face about what he is and what he isn't and what he will and what he won't, how do you react to it? Does it get on your nerves that the whole story seems to be, certainly in the British press, about what Moses is going to do, how Moses is going to do this? Does that annoy you, or you just think, well, you know, like you said, Moses never reached the promised land?
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, he's a young kid, you know, they want to make a future star of him, and he's until now boxed perfectly. He showed really great talent, but I think I'm the biggest test for him, and I think I'll give him some. He'll with me in the ring, he'll feel something that he never felt before, and yeah, I believe in myself that I can beat him, and I know whole world write me off. It's like you said, all about him, and that's the way it is. This is my chance to prove everyone wrong and to beat this guy and to become world champion.
How are you looking, Philip? I mean, obviously a lot was expected of you. You're very highly rated, and a lot of people speak very highly of you, and justifiably so. If you look at the recent run of fights that you've had, you know, whether it be against Joe Joyce, David Adderley, or Dave Allen, you beat Mark Demora in a one-round blowout on the Saudi card a few years ago. You lost to Daniel Dubois. When you look at your career, how are you thinking about yourself and the direction of travel? Because obviously, being an Olympic medalist, a very good fighter, a lot was expected, and a lot is expected of you. How are you looking at your career and the circumstances you find yourself in now?
Look, when you see this generation 2016 Olympians, there's no Joe Joyce, there's no Tony Oka, there's no anyone except me. I'm still here. Yeah. I'm up top 5 in the world. So coming from, you know, Croatia, small country where there's no boxing, you know, I organize everything by myself. You know, I have a lot of fights outside of the ring and in the ring, so I'm still here in top 5 in the world. So of course I could done, you know, better. You always can do better, and I'm sorry for that loss from Daniel Dubois because I was ill before that fight. I was injured, you know, I didn't just perform well. And that was my, you know, ticket to heaven, and I missed that ticket. But now I'm back, and I'm again, you know, one step away from heaven. By beating Moses Itauma, I think I will open all doors for my next fight, and I'll be, you know, in the great position to fight anyone.
Philip, really quickly from me, how does experience play into this and come into this? How does that become an advantage for yourself?
You know, I think it made me, you know, stronger, better fighter. It was, you know, big trouble for me. I needed a lot of time to recover from that, but on the end it makes you stronger. You see the mistakes what you did in a process, and you don't repeat them. And every failure, you know, if you don't give up, make you stronger in the future.
Philip, terrific. Thank you so much for taking time out and joining us. Philip Hrgović back in Canary Wharf in London after it was announced that he goes in against Moses Itauma at the O2 in London on August the 29th. The window cleaners getting about their job here on the 50th floor of the World Trade Center. So are we. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Troy Deeney. And we are live in talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. First stop, Toolstation.
Well, we're talking about Arsenal because the press are talking about Arsenal.
Squeezed Arsenal into a World Cup show.
You're about to hear. Are you Arsenal in disguise? In the Daily Mail. Yeah, we're going there. We're going there.
Who's written that? Is that you? Is that by Laura Coke Francis?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's my first line in the
Oh,
Daily
well
Mail.
done. Congratulations.
The Nation joins Gunners fans in praise of Rice's corners.
Oh, come on. This is... Benty and I were out hobnobbing with the Rich and Famous last night, or maybe Rich and Shameless, and we were talking to Piers Morgan.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And he asked the same question about Declan Rice's corners, and I'm like, he's just taking the corner, the fella.
Mate, no.
I love Declan. You know that.
Hey,
but unless you've got Harry Kane running onto it, a corner's only as good as the finish.
No, well, look at Arsenal been doing all season, and people have criticised Arsenal for that.
You just bullied goalkeepers, just smashed goalkeepers out of the way.
That's so right. So the hypocrisy here is loud and clear. In the Daily Mail, which I've just messed up there, they're calling it dark arts in praise of the dark arts that England have employed at corners, which we've been very vocal about.
We're not doing those corners at the World Cup.
Yeah, exactly.
Declan's doing outswingers.
Did you see the amount of... So Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm saying, but when it's an in-swing, everyone's smashing into the keeper. These are outswings. Harry Kane's running onto them.
Now, all the blocks, I saw the blocks the other night, England.
Yeah, so just to be clear, corner's good, but corner's not good when Arsenal do it. In-swing are good, outswing are bad.
Unless Harry Kane's on the end of him,
so safe to say, according to you, and I think I speak on behalf of Arsenal Nation here, I'm not allowing you to enjoy us having corners, if that's all right. So as far as you're concerned, it was 3-2.
I'll speak on the rest of the nation, right? And I don't like your attitude.
I love it.
Yeah, the hypocrisy.
No, here's what's going to happen.
Yep.
So you, of course, won't remember, and neither will I, but in 1966, when England won the World Cup, right? Jeff Hurst scored 3 and Martin Peters scored the other one, and Bobby Moore lifted it. And West Ham, for years, were like, West Ham won the World Cup. And this is exactly what you're doing now with Arsenal.
It is exactly what we're doing.
Right.
But it
Declan Rice took a corner. Now, I love Declan.
The photo of the World Cup winning captain hoisting the trophy into the air is one of the most iconic images in sport. Maradona, Bobby Moore, Cafu, these pictures, mwah. Was Lionel Messi's tainted though? In Qatar in 2022, Messi finally got his hands on the World Cup. But as he prepared to lift the trophy in those famous blue and white stripes, the Emir of Qatar approached, flanked by Gianni Infantino, with a bisht in hand. Now, a bisht is a traditional Arabic robe worn by royalty, and in it, Messi raised Argentina's golden prize into the night sky. Cynics said Qatar had paid for this exact photograph, knowing it would go down in history. But look, the badge of his country isn't even visible on Messi's chest. Pablo Zabaleta said on TV that there was no reason to do this. In fact, let's just bring this picture back. I mean, just imagine if the 3 lions were obscured on it. Some suggest what happened in Doha was the icing on the sports washing cake. But it was a massive moment of cultural significance for the Arabic world. So much so that a member of Oman's parliament offered to buy the bisht for $1 million. Messi himself has never publicly commented, and I'll leave it up to you to decide how he felt. But maybe he was just happy to finally get his hands on the World Cup.
I mentioned earlier 3 of the World Cup superstars in action this evening on talkSPORT following our show here in New York. Lionel Messi's Argentina take on Austria at 6 o'clock. You can hear Kylian Mbappe's France against Iraq at 10 o'clock. And then at 1 a.m, Erling Haaland's Norway are here. So are thousands of Norwegian fans in New York taking on Senegal. That's Messi Mbappe, Haaland, all in action as we bring you live commentary of all three of those matches right here on talkSPORT this evening. We are live in New York. The pictures you saw there moments ago coming to you live this Monday morning of the MetLife Stadium. We've been there on a couple of occasions to see Brazil, Morocco, and then France, Senegal. It is quite a stadium. Quite a trek, but it's quite a stadium. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, Troy Deeney, and 3 has become 4 because this fella has gone down well on our coverage of the 2026 World Cup here in the USA, and he joins us again this morning. African football journalist Osasu Obeyuwana joins us here in studio. Osasu, good morning.
Good morning, Jim. How are you?
I always look at you.
It's nice to see that the window cleaners are here to make sure that all the hot air that Simon has put on the windows is being cleaned off.
You got in first with that. And I was about to say, you've always got something on your mind. And that was a something.
You have to be prepared when you're with this.
Nothing like a rehearsed line, is there?
Sasu, it's good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
And you got the line out, and that's the main thing. Listen, Cape Verde made it 2 draws from 2 in their debut World Cup campaign. They've set the place alight. For those who are not familiar with African football and Cape Verde, where is Cape Verde?
It's a group of islands off the coast in West Africa. They have a population of 500,000 people. It's a really small country. And to put it in perspective, the entire population of Cape Verde is not up to a suburb in Lagos, Nigeria, Lagos City has a population of 20 million. So just put that into context. The great thing about Cape Verde is that they are a team that is greater than the sum of its parts. They have done a tremendous job going into the diaspora. They have a large diaspora, and they have found players that they've been able to wield into a good unit. Not superstars, not players but players that have a good understanding of the game. They're tactically quite disciplined. And I have to say, their coach, Bubista, who was voted African Coach of the Year last year, is showing that African coaches, technicians are as good as any in the world.
So the answer to the question is those that are surprised by the performance of Cape Verde are the uninformed.
Correct.
Okay, how far can they go, Osasu? Or is this going to be it?
Of course not. If you are able to hold your own against Spain and Uruguay, they can hold their own against any team at this World Cup. But the big issue now is that they've had 2 draws. Now they have to win. But to be fair to Cape Verde, I was quite upset with the referee yesterday because they should have been given a penalty. I don't know why they were not given that penalty, because to me, it was a clear penalty.
Yeah, I thought that at the time as well, to be fair. Just want to ask you on that, though, because you say you don't know how far they can go. I feel like the surprise element drops, right? At the moment, there's a surprise element to other teams, where there's a bit of ignorance, a bit of we can just turn up and we'll beat this team. If they do get through to the knockout rounds, they won't be a surprise then. So how do they change their approach? At the moment, it's been contain and then hit on the counter-attack. They won't be able to do that when the element of surprise is gone.
Well, the good thing about this team is that they are tactically very, very disciplined. This is the thing that, of all the African teams that I have seen at this World Cup, they are the most organised and the most disciplined. And I assure you, they will be difficult for any team to break down. You can understand this is their first World Cup. You would expect them to start a little bit cautiously, gain some confidence.
Yeah.
So now, in a tournament, it's not how you start, it's how you progress and how you end. And they have started well, and they're building in confidence more and more. So, anything can happen in the knockout stages.
It's a great story. Egypt won their first World Cup match ever, beating New Zealand 3-1. Mo Salah's off and running with a goal. Where next for Mo Salah? That's a big topic of conversation out here.
Well, I think he'll go and get a nice payday in the Gulf. Why shouldn't he? There's nothing more he can do in the Premier League. He's done everything he can do in the Premier League. He's done everything he can do in Europe. So why not go and enjoy a nice payoff in Saudi Arabia? He deserves it.
Yeah. Sad to say, Morocco held out. and beat Scotland by a single goal to nil. Alan McCoist is going to join us in studio very shortly. We'll talk about that, amongst other things. How did the Moroccans view that? Do they think they got away with one there, with Scotland coming back at them in the later stages of the game?
Well, you know, we talked about the game before.
Yeah.
And I told you.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah, sure.
Do you think that Scotland came back at them at any point? Was we watching the same game?
Well, no, but to be fair, Scotland got what, in my opinion, was a penalty, which they were not given. And games turn on these things. It doesn't matter if you haven't had a good game. What matters is, can you score a goal when you need it?
Enough of the raised eyebrows. He's right.
No, I'm not being critical of Scotland. I think it's just, I mean, the narrative that will be spun out is that Scotland aren't being brave and they're not taking the game to the opposition. They've got an opportunity to be bold and they're not taking it. I would suggest that they are structuring the way they play to navigate their way through this group, knowing that they're likely to get beat by the Moroccans, knowing that they're likely to get beat by the Brazilians. And I know it's slightly defeatist in people's mindsets, but it's probably the pragmatic way. Win against Haiti, where they made a mistake, I think if they've made a mistake, is not putting more goals past the Haitians, because that might be their downfall in goal difference.
True. I mean, I don't think they knew they would lose to Morocco. They gave it a serious go. I mean, I honestly thought they would get level, but they didn't. Morocco, how far do you think they'll go?
It's still early days.
Yeah.
You know, for a tournament, coaches, what they care about is we need to get out of the group first. They don't care about that whether the team is playing fancy football or whether, no, they just want to get out of the group stages first. When you're in the knockout rounds, it's totally different football you're going to see. So,
I would have looked at it the other way around. I would have wanted you to, as a coach, want to see something on my team that I can build on, and obviously the results would matter because you want to get through. But then in the knockout phases, it doesn't matter as long as we progress. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I've mixed emotions about the Moroccans because you watched them in the first half against the Brazilians and you thought this is a very impressive side.
Yeah.
And a lot to do with that was the way that Casemiro and the other central midfielders in Brazil were absent. I think they flattered to deceive a little bit. I think they were a better side than they've currently shown. So we will see if they get better in the tournament.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a Moroccan side that over the last 4 years, they've had 3 managers. Vahid Halilovic, who was dismissed just before the World Cup in 22, and then Walid Regragui took over. He stayed with the team for 4 years. You would have thought after qualifying them for this World Cup, he would have finished the job before they changed, but the Moroccans felt, well, he didn't win the AFCON, so we need to change. And then they brought Mohamed Ouabi. I don't like the frequency in the change of coaches. It's not helping, because this coach is actually having to manage his first competitive games at the tournament.
Yeah, it's crazy.
This is just not the right way to go about things.
Yes. Osasu, Group E, heartbreak for Ivory Coast. They lost out to the Germans in the last minute. Now, they stay second. They face Curaçao on Thursday. I mean, Troy, this boy Diomande, £100 million, 19-year-old, heavily linked with Liverpool. Does he look like a £100 million player?
For me, he does, yeah. Every now and again, you watch a game and a player jumps off the pitch and jumps off the screen, and you're like, "Whoa, who's that?" And his freedom. I also like the backstory. Not that it makes a big deal, but he's come through some real difficult times, and at 90, he's got a level head on his shoulders, and you can see that he enjoys the football. I think if he goes to Liverpool, he can absolutely fill that Mohamed Salah void in terms of the creativity, the goals, but also he's exciting. There's so many boring players now that you watch who just go left to right. This guy gets the ball, goes bang, you're getting it. And you come up against Kimmich, who's a top player, and he realised, I can run you. And from the first minute to the last minute, he went, I'm going to run you, I'm going to run you, I'm going to run you. He's very, very good.
What do we know, Osasu?
No, I was just going to say 2 things. With Diomande, I mean, I really admire what he has had to come from the very challenging family circumstances he had in Côte d'Ivoire. And one of the things that have really, really hurt him was that he lost his sister to a very, very mysterious incident in Côte d'Ivoire. And that is something that has been on his mind. He's carried it with him. It takes a lot of strength and courage to be able to deal with that. Because, you know, sometimes as a lot of people who are not in football don't understand, footballers are human beings.
Is there anything you can add to that, Osasu, about
he's just had a great story.
The nature of the incident?
No, yes. The story was that she took a drink and they suspected that it was poisoned. That was the story. Nobody's been able to prove it, but that's what the story is. And it's really, really, really sad. But going to Ivory Coast and their performance again, I am so mad with these guys because there is no reason why you should have lost to Germany. Absolutely no reason. You had the game in your hands. All you needed to do was to control it properly and finish off the game. But when you don't finish off a game and you're playing against a team like Germany and you've got a Julian Nagelsmann on the other side, they will take advantage if you don't take your own advantages.
Yeah.
And then the miss of Adingra as well was just, God.
That got to you, Osasu. When we come back, we're going to talk about another African nation, of course, Ghana, up against England, not far from here, up in Boston. They take them on tomorrow night, and Osasu will stay with us for that. We're with you live on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. Fast Track delivers to you from 30 minutes. First stop, Toolstation.
Talking about Jude Bellingham, because of his talent, because of his ability, Kyle, he's often the focus of attention, isn't he? I mean, tell us, I mean, you've been in the same dressing room as him. What's he like as a person?
No, he's good, and I think he carries a lot of weight on his shoulders for such a young boy. I think people probably forget how young he is. Obviously, he's gone on from leaps and bounds from Birmingham City to Dortmund to now playing for, one of, if not the biggest clubs in the world. But I was saying it before, I think Morgan Rogers is a great player. I played with him at City. He's done unbelievable for Villa. But I just think in them moments, Jude Bellingham probably pips him just because of the big game moments, and last night proved that.
Yeah. How good is he? Because you've been in training with him, you played with him. Because when we watch him, I just see someone who can score left foot, right foot. I see someone who can get box to box, good in the air. That's like the complete player.
Yeah, I think, he's an all-rounder. He can tackle, he can defend, he can attack, he scores goals. As you just said, left, right foot, he's got an engine on him. Is he a silky number 10 that we're probably used to seeing in the Premier League? Probably not. He's more of a powerhouse, but, in these conditions that they're playing the World Cup in like this, it could work to our advantage with having him, Declan and, Anderson, that all have good engines on them and then can get up and down the pitch.
Does it ever get to him, the sort of criticism that he gets, the media attention that he gets?
I think probably it does. I think probably it does some way, but I don't think you can let it get to you. I think when you're a big football player like that with a name that you've got, obviously you're going to hear and you're going to see. People are going to tell you what people are saying, but you have to take that pressure. You're Jude Bellingham. And you've got that pressure on your shoulder. You're playing for Real Madrid and also representing England in the number 10 jersey, so you've got to deal with it.
We've seen a few months ago, there were journalists saying that he shouldn't be involved because there was reports that
Well, you've got a heat wave back home here in New York. For the first time, we've got cloud, and it's going to be raining here all afternoon. Pleasant relief, to be quite honest to you. We are live from New York City. It is coming up to 10 to 10 this Monday morning, 10 to 3 with you back home in the UK. Top African journalist Osaso Obeyuana is in studio with myself, Simon, and Troy. Who says that covering a World Cup doesn't take a bit of stamina? Tell me about the next 24 hours, 48 hours for you, Osaso.
Got to get on the coach to Boston in the morning, watch England-Ghana, come back, get back in the early hours of the morning, wake up, and then I have to catch a flight to LA later in the day on Wednesday. So,
all right,
that's my life.
How do you fancy the bus ride up to Boston?
As the French say, nous allons les voir. We shall see.
We shall see. We shall see. Quite right. That's the approach. Osaso, you used to be a part of the anti-racism task force with FIFA. I want to get into this.
Yes.
Paraguay's
many lifetimes ago.
Okay. Paraguay's Miguel Almiron, we remember him, of course we do, became the first player to be shown a red card at this World Cup for covering his mouth while speaking to an opponent during the tournament, during the match against Turkey in San Francisco. It followed a clash between the two teams. Almiron covered his mouth with his hand while speaking to Turkey's Mert Muldur, who immediately informed an official standing next to him. Now, the referee moved in, the referee by the name of Ivan Barton moved in and then announced the following.
Number 10, Paraguay, cover his mouth. Decision is red card.
And the El Salvadorian referee sends off Miguel Almiron. He covered his mouth towards Mert Mulder.
Oh, very animated, wasn't it? The new rule, Osasu, as you know, is being used for the first time at a World Cup following the confrontation between Benfica's Gianluca Prestiani and Real Madrid's Vinicius Junior. What did you make of this? What do you make of this new rule? And Almiron, he's fallen foul of it, hasn't he?
Rules are rules, aren't they? But here's the thing. The rule needs to be universally applied. You can't apply it in one case and not apply it in another case. Messi did that, and he didn't get sent off. Why? Is it because he is the iconic player of the world at the moment? You can't apply rules in this fashion. The argument may be, oh, but Messi didn't say anything racist, but that's not the point. The rule says if you do this and start talking as a player, you get sent off. It's as simple as that. So they just have to apply the rule as is. But I imagine that there are going to be conversations about this rule because it's going to cause some injustice, which will have to then be taken into cognizance to amend the rule for it to work a lot better.
That's right. I mean, how would they go about amending it, though, Simon?
Well, the genesis of this rule was not about hands over the mouth, it was about shirts over the mouth. And as a result of that, there was a reaction, an unnecessary reaction from both parties, because you can't have the ability to say something that someone said without being able to substantiate it, and you must have consequences for people that do say things that are inappropriate. So you then move into the territory of, do you allow subjectivity? Because what if you've got a player that plays with his mate at a different club, and they happen to make an observation about the referee? XYZ player plays for Arsenal, playing for England. XYZ player plays for another country, and they happen to meet in the middle of the park and say something to one another, behind their hands. I agree with the premise. You know the rules, abide by them. Can you move into subjectivity? Because then we're in that horrible, unholy trinity of observations about is the right thing, outcomes being the primary solution, and subjectivity being an equation that referees should or shouldn't have. Players know they can't do it, but the purpose of it is to remove inappropriate observations and inappropriate language, whether it be racist, whether it be homophobic, whatever it is. Right. That's what its purpose is now. And it should, and in the modern day, you look at it and go, what a terrible place we've got ourselves to. How have we got ourselves into this situation where players are being sent off because they want to say something behind their hands? Because we also know that as a media, we've got to take some responsibility for players talking behind their hands, because people are so desperate to find out what people are saying. In the circumstances of abuse, we have to find a solution to this, right? People can't say things that are inappropriate, and they can't not have consequences. And people also can't make allegations and play particular cards on people because they know there's no immediate consequence, because it denigrates people's career. So it's on both sides of the argument. I was having this conversation this morning with John Terry and debating about the premise of it, because he was of the mindset that it's a circumstance that's difficult to square a circle. And I reminded him that perhaps he would have liked to have a clear set of circumstances around the circumstances he's found in his career. So I understand the nature of it. It has to be, as he says, refined and made to look clearer about, because the only reason he was sent off is because of the recoiling from the player. The player's reaction was the predeterminate and the very broad brush rule.
It's harsh, I would think. It's a rule, Troy, is it not? As a rule, right across the board. But they had to do something after the Prestiani Vinicius Jr. incident.
Yeah,
they had
absolutely.
to do something.
I get that, and there's always a reaction, right? But again, purely football, not what's being said and all that, just purely football. If you're getting sent off for that, I don't like where the game's going, personally. But I understand from what happened with Prestiani and Vinicius Jr., there needs to be some reaction. My frustration every time when it comes to any of these rule makers is, let's do a reaction, let's see, oh, that didn't work, let's refine it. Why not? Let's think of something, let's have a little bit of a think tank, let's talk about it. How does this work out in actuality? Then put it into legislation.
The reason why that doesn't happen is because when flashpoints happen, there is so much pressure for the football authorities to do something in the moment.
That's right.
I agree with that.
But it's also very clear, Troy, sorry to cut across you. If you have been told that putting your hand across your mouth, over your shirt, over your mouth is something you shouldn't do, then you shouldn't do it. It's a choice. Of course. Now, if you do it in a moment, and you're having a private conversation with your colleague on the same side, or as I said, an opposition player that you know.
Maybe.
But when you're saying something to someone else which is inappropriate,
of course. But if I've done
you've made a choice.
But if I've done that for the last 5-10 years, let's say,
you've made a choice.
It becomes habit. And again, I'm not making any excuses. I'm just saying it becomes very quick that you do it, don't you? Like, oh,
but Troy, you've got to break the habit.
No, I agree. I agree. But
some would say, I know this is going to be an awful observation to make. If you've got something awful to say, then perhaps you should have the courage of a conviction to say it, rather than being a snivelling coward and say it behind your hand, so you can get away with it.
Now then, England take on Ghana, of course, in their second match. Osasu's going to stay on for us as we look ahead to that. And in the final hour, of course, we look ahead to Scotland against Brazil. What can the Scots do against the Brazilian? Can they keep it to, well, I'd ideally like them to get something from the game. But if they're going to lose it, how about 1-0? Then they stand a good chance of going through. Ali McCoist will join us in the final hour as we approach 10 o'clock in the morning here in New York, 3 o'clock with you back in the UK, and we are live on talkSPORT. She says, if you pardon the expression, where the dad, of course, is completely useless at the birth of a child. That's her view, not mine. And she goes on to say, you're not going to cut an umbilical cord. You cannot miss a World Cup. Where do you stand on this, Troy?
It's the first time I've heard what the lady said.
She's strong.
She's an idiot, is what she is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said.
I think having a child is obviously the greatest thing that any human can do, in my opinion. And you know, say you're not going to cut the umbilical cord. Well, that's silly because you can do that. But also, who are you to question somebody else's desire to be there with their child and their family? I think this would have been a conversation with Belgium beforehand. They know it's coming.
Yeah.
But I also think as well, you know, if I want to go be with my family because we're having a baby, who's reporter A to say whatever she wants to say? But also, let's flip that now. And a male had said that.
Oh yes, it would be misogyny to the highest level.
Yeah, I just think sometimes we live in a new world now where everyone wants to have clickbait and everyone wants to have a headline. But I miss the good old days where you could just tell someone, just shut up, because she's talking absolute nonsense. I've been fortunate enough to have 5 kids, and I've not missed the birth of one of them.
You haven't missed the birth of one of them. She is strong, Simon. I'm looking at another quote coming out of L'Equipe. France Pierron. She says, "You're living out a childhood dream, yet you're going to walk away from it all to attend the birth of your child. A disgusting moment."
Disgusting?
A disgusting moment.
I can't take what this person says particularly seriously.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's a serious set of observations. Because, you know, to suggest, first of all, he can come back to the World Cup.
Yeah.
You know, we do live in a day and age.
Talk Sport.
With the headlines at 2 minutes past 3, I'm Tom Clayton. Good afternoon. In the last hour, Ben Stokes and Gus Atkinson have been cleared of committing a regulatory breach during an incident at a nightclub 2 weeks ago. The cricket regulator says there's insufficient evidence to suggest a breach has taken place. Stokes and Atkinson were dropped for the second test against New Zealand by England, which ended in heavy defeat. Both are in the squad for the final test at Trent Bridge starting on Thursday. Now, just how shocked should we be at Lionel Messi's success at the World Cup thus far? He's bagged a hat-trick in Argentina's win against Algeria. Julio Arca says it's no real surprise.
He's been looking sharp and he's scoring a lot of goals for Inter Miami. Obviously, going into a World Cup is different, but I believe he had the same mentality in the last World Cup and the last World Cups before that.
They face Austria tonight live on talkSPORT from 6. Something else that has come as a surprise is the success of Cape Verde. 2 draws from 2 and potentially on track to qualify for the knockouts. African football journalist Osasu Obiwiwana has high praise for the debutants.
Of all the African teams that I have seen at this World Cup, they are the most organised and the most disciplined. And I assure you, they will be difficult for any team to break down.
Elsewhere today, it's been confirmed Germany's Niklas Schlotterbeck is out of the World Cup with an ankle injury. Meanwhile, Neymar is expected to return for Brazil in their final group game against Scotland, live on talkSPORT on Wednesday. And Manchester United have confirmed they've secured the land that will one day house their new stadium project. Get all the latest at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The man who could be the Prime Minister, the UK's 5th Prime Minister in 4 years, has been sworn in as the newest MP. This after Sir Keir Starmer said he'd step down as PM and Labour leader with good grace. For full political analysis, Times Radio has you covered.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Heatwave outside, oven inside. Stay cool this summer with a free aircon check. Book online or visit your local QuickFit today.
Increasingly hot and humid in the southeast, where the best of the sunshine is. Elsewhere, cloudy with a few areas of showery rain, particularly in the north and in Scotland.
Good afternoon to everybody back in the UK. 5 minutes past 3 o'clock on a Monday afternoon. And as far as we gather, you've got it hot, 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 and it's going to continue that way throughout the week. We're going to have rain, rain, rain here in New York City, but we welcome it to a certain degree. The weather changes here this afternoon. It's been very humid. Statue of Liberty looking wonderful out there if you're watching us live on YouTube. We're live on talkSPORT, of course, with you. This morning from New York City, it's just gone 5 past 10. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, Troy Deeney and top African journalist Osasu Obiwiwana, with England set to go in against Ghana tomorrow night up in Boston. What can the Ghanaians do against England. The man here in studio alongside Troy, Simon and myself can tell us just that. So Sasu, for those who don't know, how strong at this time are Ghana, would you say?
I really don't know because, like I told you, Carlos Queiroz is just having his second competitive game in charge of this team. The Carlos Queiroz I have known from managing Iran and managing other national teams. He's very conservative in his football. He's very defensive-minded. You need to play a more offensive quality of football if you're going to win. I'm hoping that he is going to change this style, his attitude, because if he decides to play a defensive game against England, they're going to find themselves in huge trouble.
Yeah, and I mean, they've got players, some of the players we know, Jordan Ayew, Antoine Semenyo. I mean, there's a player who can do a bit of damage if he's in the mood, Troy, clearly.
He can. The problem is that at the moment it's all to him. It's so one-sided. They have other players, Asante as well, who's just come up with Coventry. They've got a few good players. Solomon, who was Southampton and then obviously did well in Italy. They've got good players. I totally agree with what you're saying. I think it's good to have a defensive shape and a defensive framework, but you need to then have something going the other way. And at the moment, it is Semenyo or nothing. It's literally go down the right-hand side, keep going down the right-hand side, and go down the right-hand side a little bit more if it doesn't work.
You know, some players are talismanic for their countries, and Mohamed Kudus would have been critical to them in this tournament. And not having them is a huge blow for Ghana, huge.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, Simon, Croatia showed that you can get at England. They lost the game by 4-2, but they showed you can get about that England defence.
Yeah, because our midfield didn't do their job. And I think we'll learn that lesson. I mean, both goals came from the Croatians having far too much time and space on the ball and not being closed down. Listen, Croatia are not a bad side. We spent our entire time telling everyone that they were 170 years old as an average age, and they weren't. They were a year older than our team. So we've beaten them. And a team that, Filip Hrgović, the boxer, remarked upon in terms of how they beat us in the World Cup in 2018, they're not a bad side. England get the job done here against the Ghanaians. Get the job done, then you can rotate the squad. People can get a run out. Ivan Toney can get to make feel important and play against the Panamanians and score some goals or whatever else. I don't think you should underestimate them. I don't think you should disrespect them. But you should do your job. You're a better side. You've got better players. And I think that, Semenyo, acknowledged Thomas Partey and all the controversy around him, but as a player, acknowledged. But England are a better side. They have better players, and they should impose themselves upon the Ghanaians however they wish to play. If they want to open up and attack the English, I think that's a fool's errand. If they want to bank up and make it difficult, maybe we'll show England's limitations. But notwithstanding that, I think England will win it. I think they'll win it comfortably. I said last week on the show that I thought England would put on a spectacle, that they'd win the game. I didn't expect it to be Croatia scoring 2 goals going at half-time at 2-2, but I thought England would be bold and they wouldn't just try and nick a result. They'd go and win a game, and I think they'll do the same against Ghana.
Osasu, is there any way you can see the Ghanaians getting the job done against England?
It's football. Anything is possible, but you have to be brutally honest. It's going to be extremely difficult. And this is because of how Ghana have managed their national team over the last few years. The World Cup is a very, very serious business. If you want to be a contender at a World Cup, you prepare 2-3 years before. You have a vision, you have a plan, you have a coach that has the right vision, the right plan, picking the right players, building up to that World Cup. You can't bring a manager with a month to a World Cup and expect him to do magic. It just doesn't work this way. Which is why, even though we're not talking about Tunisia, I mean, they're in an utter mess now. It's ridiculous that you are bringing in a manager during a World Cup and giving him only 2 games. So, I mean, these are the kinds of things within African football that some of us have been talking about for so many years. And we say, listen, guys, you can't manage teams in this manner. You've got to be professional. You've got to have a vision. You need to be disciplined. You need to follow it through for a couple of years to see the results come through.
On that, Osasu, why aren't some of the African federations listening to that? Because what you're saying is absolutely logical.
I wish I knew, Jim. you can't begin to imagine the amount of enmity I get from people who are officials over these issues, because I confront them. We have these very robust conversations publicly and privately. Now, why do you keep on doing the same thing? I wanted to say something in addition to thing. And expect that you're going to get a different result. You just can't. I mean, Cape Verde is showing how it should be done.
Exactly.
That's the way
and a lot
to do
of the successful African nations now have been building for 10 years, haven't they, in terms of national centres, having their youth. If you look at Morocco, for
Morocco
example,
is one of the big teams that are doing it the right way.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to be successful in this tournament. They were very successful in the last one. But I guarantee you that if Morocco continue down the path they are going, in another 2 or 3 World Cups, don't be surprised to see them in the final if they don't get there.
They're giving themselves a platform, isn't it? That's what you're basically doing.
Yeah. Troy, we seem to have found someone who's in agreement with Thomas Tuchel over Harry Maguire. Phil Neville in the Times. If there was a debate about Harry Maguire's omission from Tuchel's World Cup squad, the conversation ended for me on Wednesday. I'm a big fan of Harry, he says. He's been a great servant for Manchester United, a great player for England. He was a perfect centre-half for the way that Gareth set his team up. But this England side have moved on under Tuchel. The team's flexible, adaptable, aggressive, very much on the front foot. It means the defenders have to go man-to-man. And this England team can't play that way if Harry is at centre-back.
So why take Dan Burn?
You tell me.
For all of the same things you've just said there, why is Dan Burn there then? Look, I just think there's this wonderful notion now that people,
I get what you're saying.
ex-players within the media want to do, want to latch on and be all pally-pally with everybody. You can say Harry Maguire, in my opinion, should have been in it. Yes, I understand all the things you're talking about tactically, but there's another element to it. It's going to be a moment where we either need to see a game out and have a load of crosses coming in the box. He's our best header of the ball. Do you want Harry Maguire or do you want John Stones or do you want Konza or Gay? Give me Harry Maguire every single day. Puts his head on the line.
You want to say something?
Sorry.
Managers are just different. They have their own philosophies, they have the players they like and they don't like. And that's why when we would look at a player and ask why he's not in the team, the manager has his own vision of how he wants the team to play.
And they're judged on that accordingly, right?
But it's also because they're privy to more information than the observers.
Of course.
So what you have is what you see. You don't know the personality of the individuals. You don't know the robustness of conversations that might have happened in the past. I mean, obviously, I look at Thomas Tuchel, and on one hand, we think he's an elite manager. On the other hand, we want to micromanage his decisions, right? So either believe he's an elite manager until he proves you something different, or don't.
But to that,
you know, when you're managing England, it is a tough job. Everybody thinks they know better than the England manager. Everybody.
That's why we're all in a job. So that's. But the other part to it, though, is just going off what Phil's saying.
I think it's a sensible opinion from Phil Neville, to be honest with you.
But it is.
He stood up. He stood it up. We're talking about. I mean, starting lineup players.
Yeah.
So
Harry wouldn't have been a starter for me. But
so when Phil's describing this, he's talking about starting lineup players.
Yeah.
So the argument is about starting lineup players. So if you expanded it out and say, what does Harry Maguire bring to the squad? What does Dan Burn bring to the squad? Yeah. Because Dan Burn's not a starting lineup player. Now, whether Dan Burn can play left back as well, I don't know whether that's part of the consideration. Yeah. But it's a left field appointment, a left field decision. But Tuchel has his own mind.
Of course.
And we can ruminate on it all we want. I'm waiting to see him be disproved on something.
Of course.
And then we can all have the debate.
But I just think when Phil's making that logic, he's like, no problem. Well, then everyone, that's for everybody then, right? So Dan Burn, should also feel the same way about Dan Burn then.
Guys, I'm going to move it on. Before you leave us, Senegal-Norway,
huge
what we're going to look at there?
It's going to be an interesting game. Obviously, the first thing I am hoping, and I was discussing this with a Senegal manager yesterday, Pape Thiaw, that they need to learn how to take their chances when they come, not to dominate a game and not convert it into something tangible, which is having goals. They need to change that. I think luckily, okay, yes, Norway are going to play with Haaland and he's always going to be a threat. He's going to be a big threat. But is Norway going to put the kind of pressure on them that France did? I don't think so. So I'm hoping that the pressure on the Senegalese will be less. They wouldn't have to play so defensively. They can be more offensive in their game and try and get that result.
Okay, Osasu, we've loved having you on here. Good luck with the trip up to Boston on the bus. And then a flight to LA. No rest for the wicked. Osasu leaves us in the next few moments. And Ali McCosh will join us live. We're live on talkSPORT. And we're doing it in partnership with Toolstation. First stop, Toolstation.
Now, earlier in the show, we asked the all-important question. Who was faster in their pomp? Kyle Walker or Gabby Agbonlahor? Well, talkSPORT's Anil Kandala was at the talkSPORT fan zone at Villa Park last night for England against Croatia, and he put that question to some of the fans in attendance.
It's a tough call, but I'd go for Gabby. He was awesome, and no defender wants anybody with that pace running at them. So I'll go for Gabby. I would.
Quicker than Kyle Walker?
I think so. Yeah, I do. And I'm sure Gabby would agree with me.
Gabby. Well, he used to dart across the field, didn't he? I think he's better than Kyle, to be honest.
Well, we had Kyle on loan for us for many years ago, and he was quick, but Gabby was quicker.
And there you go. It might be a little bit unfair because Gabby Agbonlahor is in that building behind me, but it seems that Gabby's got the vote.
Right, the rest of the world.
He actually spoke to about 100 people who were there, but we only decided to show 3, okay?
I clipped that up for them.
Yeah.
Do you know what, though? When I think about Kyle, when I go back to that game, Kyle, of like, I think it might have been Germany at Wembley, and you was right side of the 3, but like you was all the way in the right back position, and I was at the game, mate, and you come sprinting across, mate. Someone was through on goal. I can't remember who it was.
Muller.
It was Muller, yeah. I'm like, where has this guy come from? And you've done that for the last 15, 16 years, mate. Your centre-half pairings with England and Manchester City must have been looking at you thinking like, okay, maybe I can leave a bit of space in behind, because you would always just come out of nowhere and cover.
Yeah, I think that was what my game was based on. You know, I probably didn't create that much going forward with assists and stuff. I chipped in with a few, but not as much as probably what I should have done. So my main game when I got a little bit older was to make sure I can cover the back.
Incredible, man.
Here's our great suggestion. Jill's a regular contributor.
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
20 past 3 back home in the UK. It is 20 past 10 with us on a Monday morning here in New York City, the Statue of Liberty. The views we have from this vantage point, the 50th floor of the World Trade Center, absolutely breathtaking. We're live, of course, on talkSPORT. And I'm delighted to say, this man, in terms of his air miles, they must have gone through the roof because the three of us has become the four of us. Troy, myself and Simon, welcome to our studio for the first time. The much-travelled former Scotland striker, talkSPORT breakfast host, is on our TV everywhere. He's omnipresent here in North America. Alan McCoist, how do we find you?
Jim, you find me very, very well. Great to see you boys. Thoroughly enjoying the tournament. Yeah, been well-travelled, but, you know, I've loved it. Absolutely loved it.
What's been the highlight?
Highlight, without doubt, opening day, opening game, Azteca, Mexico City. It was... I'd never been before, Jim, and it was just everything you'd hope it would be. You know, it just... You could close your... I mean, they've obviously had a little bit of work done in the stadium, but at the same time, you could close your eyes, open them, and you can still see Revellino crossing that ball for Pele. You can still see Maradona. Yeah. You can just smell it. It was fantastic. And by the way, that's where the final should be.
Oh. Really?
Oh, aye.
Yeah.
It's a football stadium. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
I'm inclined to agree. I was there in '86. It's changed a lot since then, Ali. The Mexican fans, special, aren't they?
Oh, amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, I would advise there was a great quote from the local mayor or whatever it was, and he was asking the punters to make sure for the opening game they were seated 2 hours before the game, right? That wasn't for the stadium. That was for the pubs in the city centre. He wanted them in 2 hours before the game. The traffic, I've had one minor complaint. The traffic was absolutely ridiculous. But in terms of a nation grasping it and getting it, I mean, it's a proper footballing nation. And the punters, amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Just before we talk Scotland, just for Simon, Mexico, how far could they go?
They'll do all right. I mean, you wouldn't want to be playing them at home, but they lack the quality of the top teams, definitely.
Yeah.
Saw them. Obviously saw the opening game where they deserved to win. They won comfortably. They get big gaps in their team. You know, in good teams.
Honest group, though, aren't they?
That's what they are. That's
honest
what they
group,
are. But, you know, better teams will exploit them.
Yeah.
Ali, what we got here in Scotland, a single goal to nil win over Haiti.
Yeah.
Simon, in my view, is right. That might come back to bite them. Possibly. They lost to Morocco by a single goal to nil. Are Scotland brave enough at major tournaments?
Probably not, but at the same time, I would argue I'm not sure we've got the players to be brave, to be really honest with you. I think, Troy, Simon, I think we've got one player, and he didn't even start the last game, and that's Gannon Doak. It's the one player we've had in, 15, 20 years that's an ability of pace to get by a full-back. Yeah. He's the first we've had in 15, 20 years. So I'm not sure. Our strength's in the middle of the park, right? Of course it is. No doubt about it, middle of the park. If you could combine the three strikers, you'd have an excellent one, right? If you get Adams, who's quick, Dykes' strength, and Shanklin's finishing ability, if you can combine the three, you'd have a top-class centre forward.
He'd be English.
We need for that, Troy.
But I do, not bad, I like that one, by the way. I do think, you know, like the game against Morocco, you need to put your foot on the gas a little bit earlier than we did. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we lose a goal, you know, centre half switches off, steps out, shouldn't step out, should stay with the runner. Crazy. And then you actually looked nervous for 35, 40 minutes. You know, you look nervous. And then after that, you play you into the game. You have a couple of 50-50 penalties. One might go your way. But did we do enough? Overall, no.
Can I ask you as well? You see so many managers or coaches nowadays working on defensive shape. You know, want to be solid. How many times did Scotland break away from winning the ball and then look like they had no idea?
Nothing up front.
It's like no one works on that. OK, what are we going to do to go and score?
The counter.
Yeah, I just thought there's so many times you broke away and it was like, now what?
We definitely looked much better when we got McTominay in a forward area.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that. First period, he was you know, it wasn't so much sitting back, but he's playing in a line maybe 4 or 5, and he couldn't get forward. Then later on, last 20 minutes, he definitely pushed up more on the number 10 role, and he was much better, much better.
Ali, you mentioned the strikers. Who's your number 1 starter?
I would start with Shankland. Yeah. And I don't think he did himself justice the opening game. I'm going to be honest with you. But I just clearly think, I believe he's the best finisher out of a lot of them, you know, and that's probably my main reason for starting.
I mean, I think Brad Friedel was saying to me that against Haiti, he got physically outdone.
Yeah, he did. He didn't play well. He didn't play well. That's why Dykes is a better option for that kind of thing, whereas Adams will try and turn you and run in behind.
But you think, Simon, that single 0-0 win against Haiti might come back to bite us?
Well, I think it's a missed opportunity. But, I mean, I think it's... On one hand, we've got people that are suggesting that Scotland should go on the front foot and play against the Moroccan side, which they know are better than them, and against the Brazilians, and have this bravery. On the other hand, Steve Clarke's job is to navigate this tournament in the reality of what he's got in front of him, not the idea, not the ideals of it. So... what they're at there, they're neutral now. They've got no goal difference, they're neutral. So their job is to try to manage the game against Brazil. If they're going to get beat, I know it sounds like a very defeatist mentality.
No, I know where you're going.
Scotland qualifying in 3rd spot, 8 out of the 12 teams that qualify in 3rd spot get through. That is realistically behind closed doors, not in front of the players, not in front of the media. That is the conversations that will be had amongst the Scottish management, saying, how do we manage these 2 games against Brazil and Morocco, damage limitate, and take advantage of Haiti? The take advantage of Haiti is probably a bit of a tragedy that it was the first game. If Haiti had been the middle game and they'd put in a decent performance against the Moroccans, they might have been a bit bolder and put the Haitians to the sword, got their feet, got their World Cup head, and maybe have beaten them a bit more convincingly. I still think that this... I mean, I felt the Scots would get something out of the Moroccan game. I did, just for reasons best known to myself. But when you concede a goal in the first minute and a half of a game, you do become nervous because everything that you think you must do has been thrown out of the window by opening the door to a team that ostensibly you potentially know are better than you, and they've now got the goal that can change the direction of the game.
Ali, this is tough, but I'm going to put this to you before we hit the break. Oliver Brown in the Telegraph. Everybody will remember Scotland's enrichment of this World Cup's pageantry, from drinking Boston Dry to teaching Massachusetts policemen how to play the bagpipes. And yet there's now a troubling possibility that no one will recall much about their actual football after Steve Clarke's team toiled stoically against Morocco. It's this line, Ali. They realistically need to secure a point against 5 times champions Brazil to ensure advancement. A prospect that, on this evidence, looks about as remote as their fans taking a vow of sobriety. Is this a nation, Ali, that's forever going to be remembered for their fans and not their football?
I'll tell you something. It's not a crime if it is, by the way. I'll tell you right now, it's not a crime if it is. Our fans have been nothing short of sensational. Let's put that out there right now. Our fans have captured the World Cup, right?
True, but does it not have to be more than that, Ali?
Oh, we have to do better on the pitch. I am not disputing that at all. Absolutely. In fact, I'm saying we must do better, right? But just in a bit of balance. What you've said there is it's not a disaster. It might be a disappointment in footballing terms. But if the public of your country are doing you proud, that might be a bigger thing than your football team doing you proud, surely. No?
Well, I mean, it's journalistic smart arsery, because they're looking at it from the point of view of saying, OK, where's the nobility, in due respect, of going up against the Moroccans, being very bold, knowing that the players that you've got are limited to a point of view, and getting beat 2 and 3. But you know what? You really had a go. You laid a glove on them and you got beat by 3. And you know what? You didn't sit back and try and suppress the Brazilians, but you got beat 2 and 3. And you missed the opportunity to go through in 3rd spot, which is realistically where you were going to go through, because you were bold, because some journalists can make a nice little connection between the fact that the Scotland fans aren't sober and their team didn't put out a compelling performance. There speaks somebody that's never managed a football team, never managed anything besides written articles, because the job of Scotland was to try and find a way to get into 3rd spot and qualify. That was their job.
Which they can, by the way.
Yeah, which they can.
Yeah. Because this Brazil team's not... you're talking 5-time winners.
We'll talk about that, Troy. Yeah. That quote got you bristling there, didn't it?
Oh, of course it did. I mean, it's a smart-ass comment, and anybody can make it. Of course I want the team to do better. What hasn't helped her case, by the way, is Cape Verde.
Yeah.
Right. That's not helped her case. Sure. Because Cape Verde all of a sudden have had 2 remarkable results, right? So there'll be punters up. But the argument and Simon is spot on with that development. Cape Verde have better players at playing the way that they play than we have attempting to play the way Cape Verde play.
I'm with you. I'm with you. We'll talk about Scotland, Brazil in a few moments with Ali. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan, Troy Deeney and Ali McCoy, and we're live on talkSPORT in partnership with Tool Station. First stop, Tool Station.
Saka's England teammate Ollie Watkins, he spoke to the media over the weekend and says managing the Arsenal winger's injury is crucial to the team progressing.
Not in the physio department, but look, he hasn't missed a day of training, so I think that's a good thing. I think he's played so many games throughout these last few years. You can see because he's a crucial player for Arsenal and very important because you know he's a top quality player and he brings quality to the pitch for Arsenal and England. I think he's very important, as everyone can see. So I think, managing, niggles going into a competition is very important. You know, for the later stages, you need important players like him to be ready to play and step up when called upon. So, to play with him, I've only played with him a handful of times, but he's very unselfish and, that's perfect as a striker, someone who's always looking for you. And I feel like he makes always the right decision as a footballer. Whenever he receives the ball, he's going to always make the right decision, and I think that's the hardest thing to do in football.
How important is Saka? Do you want him to start tomorrow night? Because I thought the difference between him and Noni Madueke was big, understandably.
Yeah. It's difficult, isn't it? Because he has come out and said that he's fine to start, but it's about the injury. An Achilles injury you have to be careful with. I would start him tomorrow, and then why can't you bring him off at half-time like Spain did with Lamine Yamal?
Yeah.
I think when he come on, he showed. Madueke, listen, a very good player. When he gets into certain positions, it's the wrong pass or it's the wrong shot, and he smashes at shots. But that same position, Saka's more likely to score, to make the right pass. So I think there's a total difference between the both players. I will start him because as much as you want to make sure players are okay for the latter rounds, you still need to be in a rhythm of playing games. So I would start him and then bring him off. Declan Rice, I wouldn't. I think hamstring's different.
I agree with you. You don't want that going.
No, you don't.
That pops you in a world of
and it'd
trouble.
be a big miss, mate. If
you lose him for the whole tour.
If we're going to Brazil, Portugal games, maybe you need Declan Rice in there, 100%.
When you think about some of the stadiums that have hosted games in the World Cup, sometimes it's hard not to be completely overawed. But what's the biggest? One thing we have to be clear about is that older stadiums will have had higher capacities when it was standing only. A good example of this is the old Wembley. For the final in '66, the capacity was 125,000. But that was later reduced to 100 when it was converted into an all-seater in 1990. Another example is this, Mexico City's Estadio Azteca. Back in '86, it's estimated around 115,000 people watched Argentina beat West Germany to win their second World Cup. Essential modernisation so it could be used in the 2026 tournament reduced it to 83,000. You can't talk about old stadiums with high capacities without mentioning Brazil's Maracanã. Some say the jewel in football's crown. In the 2014 World Cup, its capacity stood at just under 79,000. But back in 1950, well, it wasn't official, but estimates believe 210,000 people came to this place for a winner-takes-all match between Brazil and Uruguay. That's still the world record attendance for a live football match, and let's be honest, it's not likely to be beaten anytime soon.
talkSPORT Big Match Build-Up with Village Hotels. Watch the big games live in the pub and grill at your local Village Hotel. Find your nearest at villagehotels.com.
Yeah, time now for a big match build-up with Village Hotels, and this one is live on talkSPORT tonight. We have France, many people's favourites, France up against Iraq. Ali's alongside Troy, who's alongside Simon. Ali, what do you think of this? Is it tough, almost impossible to look past this French team going deep in the tournament?
Yeah, it's a simple answer to that. I napped them to win the tournament. I don't, pretend to be a footballing guru genius with insight to that, but I just think in forward areas we've got the best players. I think it's relatively simple. I think England have got some unbelievable talent in forward areas. I think the French are slightly better, and I think defensively, as we saw against Croatia, England I thought were excellent in the game. By the way, I enjoyed the game, but I still think they're more capable of giving up goals than the French, for example.
You go with that, Troy?
Yeah, I think both have got a big area in goalkeepers, French as well. I don't think they're great, but I think if I had to put my house on the line, I'd say just in the forward areas, the French have just got a bit more people that can do it, have been winning Champions Leagues, but also you have to look at the depth, look at the bench. The benches are frightening. Some of the players at the French are just not even getting a kick, and what we've got, I just think they beat us in that. I'd say they're A+ and we're A at the moment.
Did I hear you say, Troy, that England don't win the World Cup with Pickford?
In my opinion, yeah. I think when you look through people that have won, and this is not a Jordan Pickford slight, by the way, it's just looking at the tournament, looking at the way people win things. Normally, you got a goal scorer at one end, and you got a goalkeeper that's going to save you one or two times at the other end. And I just think the nervous energy which he gives out, there's a moment in the Croatia game when he punches instead of catching it, he's taking an extra touch and gets knocked over, and luckily gets a foul. But those moments for me always make me feel nervous. Now, Jordan Pickford can more than happily say, Troy, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about, no problem at all. But that's just my opinion as I'm watching it. That's what he gives me, and I just don't think you can win when you don't have a top-level goalkeeper.
And Simon, on the French, one-time Palace player Michael Olise, some of the journalists out here even think he one day could get to Zidane level. Whether that happens or not, it's another matter, but...
That's a very flattering observation. We'll see.
I mean, William Saliba even said it.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. We look at him in conjunction with his performances in a very good Bayern Munich side, which Harry Kane's prospered from. Look, he's a very good player, and we shouldn't underestimate how good a player he was. He was a good player when he was at Palace. He's gone to a different level when he's playing at Bayern Munich. We will see. We will see what questions get asked of them. There were moments in the Senegal game where they didn't look as impressive as people would like to think that they were going to be early in the tournament. I still think, in most sensible people's minds, the French, on paper, and literally will be the favourites. But that doesn't mean they're going to win it. I know his point of view about Jordan Pickford. I just think that England, if they get a little bit of luck, are going to do some damage in this tournament.
I think they could. Scarily, Jim. I genuinely think they could. And do you know something? And we all do tend to get carried away making, predictions, players. And Zidane's a different level.
I was about to say,
Let's just everybody calm down a wee bit, right?
Yeah.
Zidane is a completely...
That's what Saliba saying, Ali. I hope that one day Olise will be in a league with Platini and Zidane.
Do you know what
it's too early now, he says, but one day.
Do you know what you've got, right? The big difference in the elite teams, generally speaking, are in wide areas, right? They're in wide areas. England have got it, by the way, whether it's Madueke, Saka, Rashford. They've got players that can go by people, create things, score goals. The French have got it in abundance. All the top teams have got players in wide areas that can go and do something different. I mean, England have got the best goal scorer, probably. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But and the French have got Mbappe.
Okay.
So the one thing, if I could come in and say, the one thing I've been really happy to see from Thomas Tuchel and England's point of view. See, from Scotland's point of view, we're saying, well, we're not attacking enough, we're not getting the players to attack. The one thing England do have, they've got players to attack, and he looks as though he's doing that. So
OK, Ali. You can watch the games live in the pub and grill at your local Village Hotel. Find your nearest at villagehotels.com. Plus, for a chance to win a Village Hotel, a VIP experience for the World Cup final at a Village Hotel near you, head to talksport.com/competitions.
talkSPORT's Big Match Build-Up with Village Hotels. Watch the big games live in the pub and grill at your local Village Hotel. Find your nearest at villagehotels.com.
Soho Grand.
As for Scotland, with Ali in our midst, we have to talk about what chance they have of getting something out of the game on Wednesday in Miami against Brazil. It's live on talkSPORT. Ali, what chance do you give them? If we're going to get something, how do we get something?
Well, Scottish fans won't like what I'm going to say. It's going to have to be kind of roughly the same, a distinct better level of performance in terms of the quality. But in terms of the shape of the team, I don't think it will change dramatically.
Same as Morocco?
Yeah, I genuinely do. I think whether he goes 5 and a 4 or 4 and a 5, that'll be it. The decision he's got, does he start Gannon Doak? And I look at the side, and if he starts Gannon Doak, the problem that you've got, Jim, we will probably need to find a goal from somewhere, right? If you start him and you need to find a goal from somewhere, you're in trouble. If you don't start him, you need to find a goal from somewhere. With half an hour to go, he might be your answer, right? And there's nothing worse as a player. Now, I'm not labelling him at all as a super sub, but he might be your best chance of changing something. I think Stevie Clarke will do similar to the Morocco game. I would be staggered if he went 2 up. I'd be staggered.
Yeah.
I think he'll overload the midfield where that's his quality, whether it's Ferguson, McTominay, McGinn, Christie, boys like that. I don't think John played particularly well the other night, and he saved us a good few times. You know, with some poor individual performances, particularly in that first half. The one thing I would hope and ask for is McTominay gets further forward.
Yeah. Even if we do find a goal against him, we're still in trouble, as Dave Neary proved.
Oh, yeah.
In Spain 82, when we went ahead.
I remember it.
And then lost 4-1, I think it was.
We booted a wasp's nest that time, didn't we? The minute you go to half-time, David Neary puts his one up. And then they start the second half, there was Zico and Falcao and Socrates and Junior.
I think the commentator said at the time, well, that's annoyed them.
Didn't work out well, that one, Jeff.
Simon, Troy, do either of you two see Brazil as contenders to lift the trophy?
I don't. I think the X factor is Ancelotti. I think he gets you so far. But looking at what we've seen, this is not a vintage Brazil side. This is not a side that we just described, that Ali just described in 1982, that had this litany of great players. It's got some very good players. It's got some very average players in there. We saw them against Morocco. They weren't impressive. They were all over the place for the first 20 minutes. They were all over the place. I think we were surprised at how poor they were and how fragile they were. Listen, this is not Melchester Rovers. This isn't Roy Race. This is the business of sport. And Steve Clarke's job is to try and navigate this team through in the best possible version he can. We all want to be romantic and be bold and have Scotland be cavalier and watch Archie Gemmill curl one in the top corner against the Dutch and you still got beat and you still went out. Right? So you've got to try and find a way. And the way through this was not to concede goals against the Brazilians and the Moroccans. And if you do that, the journey into the knockouts will be forgotten. He'll have done his job, and people can pack it in because it's not romantic to get beat because you were bold. This is the real sport that you're in, and you're trying to navigate something through, not the journalistic little epithals about how you should be and how you could be, but the reality of Scotland coming out of this group and playing in the qualifying, in the knockout stages, is another marker for Scotland's evolution back into football. So I hope they do. I know all the banter and the formulaic stuff that we said.
I know.
You know, we all do. Do you know something, boys? We can sit here and discuss the level and the quality of performance, right? Of course we can, and that's what we do. And was it good enough in the first 45 against Morocco? Certainly not. It was better after. It wasn't brilliant. It was better after that. Haiti was okay. I don't think we played particularly well, right? So we can discuss the level of performance. But where we are, I think we're probably all in total agreement, is exactly where we expected to be.
Yeah.
That's exactly where we are.
Correct. Yeah.
Getting into the final game against Brazil, hopefully getting something.
I love it, Ali. Let's hope we can do it. We're live on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. Fast Track delivers to you from 30 minutes. First stop, Toolstation.
Steve Clark's taken a bit of heat since the Morocco game, Alan, because, I mean, there was a feeling that Shankland, who is a natural finisher, maybe should have been on the pitch, never got a chance.
Well, I was going to come to that, guys, because this Brazil game, what does he do? Does he sit back, and if we get beat 1-0, it's probably enough to qualify, which is remarkable, which is brilliant. Or does he have a go and say, look, let's push them back, let's try and get at them? Now, who do you play up front? Do you play Shea Adams again? He's more mobile than Shankland. Shankland is the best finisher Scotland have got in the squad. He's a McCoy's job. You know, he can finish, make no mistake. So he'll be kicking Steve Clark saying, you got to play me. You got to play me. I'm in great form. So it's an interesting one. But whoever plays there, as I say, guys, I think John McGinn's the one who's got to try and spark off him when the ball goes forward. We've got to retain some sort of possession, or we're going to be under so much pressure. And down that left-hand side, Vinicius Jr., you know, that's the side that really worries me for Scotland. We've got to block that off. But in saying that, look, as long as we defend better, give no stupid goals away. In fact, the goal against Morocco, that was a great finish. I'm not going to whinge and say, how can you lose a goal that early? It was a great finish. It was an offside decision. He pushed up when he shouldn't have done, and we got punished. After that, second half, we were great. I thought Christie come on and done well. And I thought the boy from Norwich done well. Kenny McLean, he come on and done well. So it's going to be an intriguing one. It's going to be, all eyes will be on the coach to see what he does and how he plays and what formation he plays.
I mean, another one is Gannon Doak, who's very popular with the fans. But you talk about Vinny Jr., I mean, maybe one way... He looked good when he came. Yeah. In both games he's looked good. But he's great going. Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
Football form roundup on talkSPORT with Sky Bet. The world's gone football. Get in on it with Sky Bet. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
OK, time now to catch up on the odds thanks to Sky Bet. We're joined by Michael Shinners from Sky Bet. We're going to look at the football today over here in this part of the world and the odds round and about it. So let's do it. Michael, here we go. Messi's Argentina, Austria. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, Argentina sort of strong favourites, Jim, to win the game at 2-5 with ourselves. Austria 13-2, 7-2 the draw. But I guess the talking point will be on Lionel Messi and can he score and beat Miroslav Klose's record this evening. We're on the back of him getting a hat-trick in the first game. We're boosting him to score today. So he's 6-4, and that's the boost. And if that happens, then he breaks the record and gets to 17 goals and maybe plus for the World Cup.
Okay, Michael, we're looking at goal scorers in general. What have you got for us there?
Yeah, I mean, we've got the big three, or three of the sort of like the headline makers in Messi, Haaland and Mbappe. On the first line of fixtures, they scored 7 goals between them. Obviously, Messi 3, Haaland a brace, and Mbappe a brace. If that happens again, if there's 7 or more goals in the games today, that's 50-1 with ourselves. And Argentina, France and Norway, obviously 2 of them very short prices. Norway just slight odds against. It's 9-4 for all those 3 teams to win this evening.
And Michael, finally, Ali mentioned them. Everyone here's talking about them. Cape Verde.
Yeah, I mean, every punter has a go-to team or a horse. We have a go-to team as well. It's Cape Verde because they've saved us twice now, obviously against Spain and then against Uruguay. So definitely friends of ours. 2-5 to qualify. They're 11-8 favourites. The pressure might be slightly different now because they're favourites going into the Saudi Arabia game at 11-8 and Uruguay 11-8 to get out of the group. They've probably been one of the disappointing teams of the World Cup so far.
Okay, Michael, thank you very much. That was a look at the latest odds thanks to Sky Bet. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Football Form Roundup on talkSPORT with Sky Bet. Download the Sky Bet app and get in on it with Sky Bet. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Great having Ali in studio with us here on the 50th floor of the World Trade Centre. You cannot help but look around, can you, Ali?
Jim, I've got to say, I've seen it to the boys, Simon, it's just remarkable. Beautiful, the backdrops, it's a great city, one of my favourite cities, and you guys have got it, you're all over it here, all over it.
Great having you, Ali. We can't have you stop by and not talk about events back in the UK, or more specifically, just for Simon, in Scotland. Derek McInnes in for Danny Rowe at Rangers. Is that an upgrade?
Oh, there's a question. The answer will be time will tell, but yes, I'm saying yes right away. He had an incredible season last year, Derek. Very, very unfortunate not to win the title. Knows the league better than anybody. Now, of course it doesn't guarantee success, I get that. But he knows the league better than anybody, knows the players, knows the club better than anybody, knows the opposition better than anybody. So I am very much looking forward to the challenge provided by Derek, providing he gets support in the market, because listen, you can be the best coach on the planet, but if you've not got good enough players, and I think getting into the break, I think Rangers' performances after the break showed that they weren't good enough. So he has to get better players in. If he does, he'll do well.
Ali, I know it's your club, but what does it tell us about Rangers and where they are at the moment, that Danny Rowe seemingly comes and goes?
Yeah, I can live with that, Jim. I really can, because obviously he's gone back to a country he knows really, really well, and he obviously, that was, I wouldn't say that was in his agenda, but that wouldn't surprise many people going back there. That's maybe one of the reasons I'm really, really happy that, if you like, you know, we've got one of our own in the respect that somebody that's worked with Walter, somebody that's worked with great managers, he's got Sir Alex on the phone. He just knows.
Because, as you said, Simon's saying, everybody thought the story was Hearts winning it.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen.
Of course.
It seems, Simon, that as a result of that, it's almost inevitable that Hearts will get their pockets picked, if not by Celtic, by Rangers.
Well, it depends what you categorise his achievements to be. You could say he's the first loser. He had an opportunity to win that league, and they didn't do it. So whilst you can make the journey about a remarkable season for Hearts, you have to look at the decay in the old firm, because both of the old firms were poor. This was the window. Celtic made a mess of it. They made a mess of it. Brendan had his little two-penneth and got smacked about, which I quite appreciated by Dermot. Then you bring Wilfred Nancy in, which was just a flight of fancy. Martin should have been kept, and whatever the situation was. But the Celtic weren't great. Rangers weren't great. So Derek, They choked at the end, Hearts. However you want to categorise it, and we wanted them to win, not because there was an anti-Glasgow bias, but because it gave such intrigue to the Scottish framework and brought such attention and might have brought more broadcaster revenue and might have brought more interest in Scottish football, which benefits everybody. But Derek failed because they were in the box seat. They drew away. Who did they draw away with on the last weekend of the season? Motherwell. And it was always going to be difficult to go to Celtic Park. It was always going to be difficult to go there and play that occasion and play that circumstances. They lost the league on the previous week, and that's on them. And you can make the noise about Celtic getting an outrageous penalty and all this sort of stuff, but it was in Hearts' hands. So you're now taking someone that stole victory from stole defeat from the jaws of victory, and saying your reward for doing that is you get the Rangers job.
Is there truth in that, Ali?
I would take it back further, actually. I mean, we can talk about penalties and some of the decisions, make no mistake about it, were absolutely outrageous. Some of the decisions, right? However, sounds right. But I would take it back further than the Motherwell game. Hearts' end to the season wasn't good enough for them to win the league. You know, they clearly didn't get the result at Celtic Park, and one or two things went against them at Fir Park, but they didn't get the result. But even results before that, and I know they beat Rangers, but some of the results prior to that weren't good enough.
Martin O'Neill.
I'm surprised.
The one-year deal at Celtic with
I'm
the
really
option of
surprised.
another. Does that inspire you to get back in?
No, absolutely not. But I'm genuinely surprised. I think good on him. But I thought Martin would have, you know, sailed off into the sunset, or rode off into the sunset, right? And been delighted. And so he should have been with his results and the job that it just shows you how much of a drug it is. Because I thought, Martin, I mean, you've got your badges, you've got your stripes, go and enjoy yourself. But he wants to win, and that's fair play to him. I mean, his desire is, and his thirst for success is unquenchable. But I still think it's an average Rangers team, and it's a completely average Celtic team.
But there's also one bit that if he didn't do that, he has to come and sit next to him every week.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
It's do you sit with Simon or do you go do the Celtic job?
See, I think that's remarkably selfish because I have to endure Keown.
Ali, great having you.
Who apparently is coming out here, much to my eternal
He's
delight.
not. He's coming out next week.
Brilliant.
New Yorkers are staying indoors.
I'm
Keown's
going to
on his way. What does your head say? What does your heart say about Scotland, Brazil?
My heart says 1 each. My head says 1-0 to Brazil. And by the way, it might be enough still.
Ali,
that was convincing.
It's always great to have you, mate.
Do you know something? I'll tell you what sums Scotland up, right? And it's brilliant. This is just beautiful, right? The P hadn't stopped rolling about in the referee's whistle after the Morocco game, right? And my mate texts me and says, I've just looked up. The law averages say if we get beat 2-0 by Brazil, we've got a 61% chance. Have you ever heard anything more Scottish in your life?
I love it. One way or t'other, we'll get there. Troy, thank you. Simon, brilliant.
Thank you.
We're coming up to, where are we now? 11 o'clock in the morning in New York. You usually lose the track of time here. Coming up to 4 o'clock with you back in the UK. Up next, Game Day Live with Adrian Durham.